And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
All right, y'all, good morning. There's a joke somewhere in here about Dawn and Polaris Dawn and spacewalks, but it's early in the morning, so we're just going to hop right into it. Let me know if you can hear me and see what is on the screen. A couple things going on right now, but give me some 5x5s in chat and let me know that everybody else is, well, awake this morning, because it's time for a rocket launch, apparently. On the left-hand side there, you can see live from the Cape a Falcon 9 mission carrying some Bluebird sats for AST Mobile. I guess that's why I get roped into this stream, because there's Bluebirds involved. But that is, I assume we're not hearing audio from that. On the left-hand side, that rocket has just taken off. Most efficient stream ever. And on the right-hand side, we've got an animation of a dragon flying over land somewhere. That is actually going to be Polaris Dawn, and we should be right around about an hour from the spacewalk that's out there. I was going to start the stream by saying, concur, we don't need any more of these, but what we do need are more commercial spacewalks. But again, it's early, so we won't do that. That rocket is going downrange. We figured we would share that with you here to kick it off. But we also had the team out there doing dedicated coverage with a dedicated stream and dedicated commentary for that. Ooh, vapor rings. Nice. Good way to start the day. But we will be staying with you here to talk about Polaris Dawn and the record-breaking commercial EVA that is happening in just about an hour. You know the drill. It's not just going to be me talking here. So let me introduce you to my friends that are here with me and hopefully awake since the last time I talked to them. EJ, how you doing this early in the morning?
Well, I'm awake. I'm here. Ready to see an EVA, buddy.
Ready to see an EVA. Nice. EJ's out here, if you know my buddy EJ from Twitch.tv over there. And then we've also got Sawyer with me. Sawyer, how are you doing?
Das called me a friend. It's a great day. No, I'm excited for the spacewalk. I'm excited to see Jared and Sarah peep their head out and do some spacewalking.
Excellent. Look at the plume expansion on the left-hand side. You know what else is decreasing in pressure? Probably the Dragon capsule.
Smooth.
You like that?
That was very good.
I did that myself. Also, Kevin Michael Reed is helping us in the background, as always, pulling the levers and pushing the buttons and switches and stuff like that. But we are here. We are ready to get going, and it looks like we're going to kick it off with a question, I guess. Endrin here asking, is there an airlock on the Dragon spacecraft? EJ. Oh, wow. Look at that. Hang on.
First and
Beautiful.
second stage
That
plume
cool
expansion.
view.
Yeah,
Or
look
You
at
can
the
see at the bottom there is the second stage.
time out.
Up
We'll
top
get to
is
the
the first
question there.
stage.
But that launch from the Cape, look at the plume interaction.
Wow, beautiful. The second stage continuing there. The first stage coming back, by the way, for a return to launch site landing at LZ1.
There you go. We'll continue to watch that on the screen, but concerning the EVA, kicking it off with a question that came in with a super chat, airlock or no, EJ?
No, the Dragon does not have an airlock on board. For this EVA to happen, they're going to depressurize the entire capsule. Something that we really haven't seen basically since the Gemini program over 50 years ago.
And that's sort of since they don't have the airlock on board, like when Shuttle was flying, that was early in the stream for the mention. Shuttle would actually
Yeah.
have an airlock that fit in the forward part of the payload bay, right? And if they needed to go out, they could get suited up and they could get in the airlock and they could close it off from the rest of the crew cabin up in the front. And they could open the airlock and they could go out and do their thing, right? Dragon is way smaller than Shuttle, and it doesn't have really any room, or I don't know if it would have any mass availability to install something like an airlock. So here they're just opening up the whole capsule to space.
That's right.
All right. That's a whole thing. You know something? I don't want to jump into it too fast, but Sawyer, we were sort of hanging out talking about the lack of an airlock, I guess, and the way that they're doing the EVA up there. And I actually learned as we were sort of sitting there hanging out about a stand-up EVA. Do you want to talk a little bit about a stand-up EVA and what we expect the astronauts to be doing here this evening, morning, whatever time it is around the world?
Sure, yeah. So the official terminology per NASA for what this would be is, as you mentioned, the stand-up EVA and SEVA. So the definition of that is that an astronaut stands through an open hatch but doesn't fully, completely leave the spacecraft. So Das came up with a brilliant term. You mind if I steal it?
You could say it. It's fine. It was early.
Coming up, it's like a space peep, where they kind of peep their heads out and a little bit of their body out, but aren't fully floating around on their own there, which we've seen that during the Gemini program. We saw that as well a little bit. There were a couple of early shuttle missions that did that, but this is kind of what they call it, so that way everyone is exposed to the vacuum, but not fully leaving, so it is an SEVA.
An SEVA. So for just a second there, hey Dan, how's it going? We had a shot, it looked like, from the Dragon capsule. Now we see an older Dragon capsule and the SpaceX Hawthorne. That's going to be Hawthorne there?
That is
It's got
Hawthorne.
to be, because it's got the thing. I'm like, there's no way that's the Star Factory now.
And
They're
there's
still
also
out
the
of
locator bug.
They did put it on the screen for us as soon as I asked. Nice.
Good
So
listening.
there, that's what's going on. We had that live view for a second. We're going to be using SpaceX's live views, and we've also got a little bit of telemetry we put together ourselves. What you see on the screen now is the live position of the Dragon capsule that's part of Polaris Dawn here. And you know something? It's a little bit zoomed in. It's almost like GeoGuessr. Where is this right now? Is that the Horn of Africa on the left-hand side?
I
That's
believe that
India.
was Saudi Arabia on the left
Yeah.
there.
Which way is I don't even know the side the horn
Yeah,
is
that
on.
would be Saudi Arabia on the left and India on the right.
That's the island off the coast of India that doesn't exist on the Indian launch maps.
Yes, exactly. ISRO refuses to put it on, I guess.
But anyways, we've got this showing where the capsule is. Now, I don't know that if you were outside, you could look up and see it, especially since it's flying over the, I guess it would be flying over the lit planet if that was a live feed they just showed it, the daytime side of the planet, right? Yeah, there you go. See? But that is the plan. We do believe that the spacewalk should be coming up in about an hour. We should be getting information on the preparations that the astronauts are going through as they do this. Is it flying or orbiting? It's orbiting. Logic Santana. It is orbiting right now. It's interesting because if you look at maps like this, we're really not that far from the planet, right, Sawyer?
Right, we're only talking about 700 kilometers up, which sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, if you were to take your thumb and put it up against a globe, it would be the equivalent of the whites of your thumbnail, assuming you don't have any press-on or French nails.
The white of your thumb. I'm holding my thumb up real quick. The white of your thumbnail.
The end, like where you would actually clip your nails.
Like the part of your nail that sticks off?
Yes.
Huh. So just a little sort of sliver there, but there go the live views again. Assuming these are live views coming from SpaceX, you can see the planet in the background. Very curiously, how the bottom of it is curved. That really looks like a fisheye lens problem to me, but the top of it is curved in the opposite direction. Because that's the Earth.
Yes. I also should point out, by the way, that was Sri Lanka.
Sri
So,
Lanka. Thank you.
yes.
The
Thank you
island
to
off the
chat
coast of India.
and GeoGuessr. Chat's GeoGuessr mode there.
Chat and GeoGuessr. Nice. And it looks like they've got a couple different cameras here in true SpaceX style, where we've got this with the little, I say railing. It's called the Skywalker, isn't it?
That is correct.
Skywalker. I mean, on the one hand, that's an interesting Star Wars reference. On the other hand, it looks a little bit like a walker, like you would use as an assistive device to walk on the planet Earth. But I appreciate that they're changing back and forth between the cameras here because it's looking like when we get our resident space gophers poking their head out of the hatch here, we should be able to have some fantastic views. Let's talk a little bit more about the mission, Sawyer. For some people who maybe didn't catch the launch, of course, we had launch coverage, talked about what was going on for the launch, but tell us a little bit about the mission here. Like, what's going on with the astronauts? Why is this special, important, helping us move forward, et cetera, et cetera?
Right. So this mission, besides having the first commercial spacewalk that we're talking about here, they also started off by climbing up to 1400.7 kilometers at the highest point of their orbit, passing through the Van Allen radiation belt. So it's a good way to test out both the spacecraft as well as the crew and run some experiments while they're in this high radiation environment. They were there for about 10 hours before dropping down to the highest point or apogee of 700 kilometers where they are now. The lowest point is 190, in case you're wondering. And this will be the first time they are testing these new spacesuits for their mobility. They will also be doing a whole bunch of different science experiments, not just testing out how they move around during the spacewalk. They're also wearing these special smart contact lenses to monitor their eyes. They're keeping track of their ocular pressure. They're studying the human body in space and trying to prevent essentially the bends from decompression too quickly. So there's a lot of different science in addition to the awesome first.
This is a slow motion replay of the launch. This is not
Courtesy
a
of-
real time replay. You can tell because of the way that it is.
Courtesy of DYs.
Courtesy of DYs. There you go. So, launched just a couple days ago. Look at that. That's very cool. It looks like the rocket's just hanging there and the exhaust coming out of the back. But this replay was just from a couple days ago when Polaris Dawn launched. They're on the third day of the flight right now. I get that right?
Yes,
Days,
that is
how do
correct.
they
This
work?
is flight day 3.
This is flight day 3. Okay, gotcha. And so they'll be doing the spacewalk here. Not just the spacewalk, though. They were doing some pretty cool outreach earlier today as well. Weren't they like, they did like some live calls back? They were reading books and stuff like that to kids at St. Jude's?
Yes, Anna, one of the people flying aboard Polaris Dawn, wrote a book a while back, and they did a live video feed today of her reading the book to the children at St. Jude's Research Hospital, which this mission is also benefiting.
They also have the hair going there. I feel like that's a requirement when you're in space to do your hair like that.
I also appreciate them letting us know the location is outer space.
It does say outer space. Nice. It had a little map icon and everything.
Yeah, this I believe was from a moment earlier in recognition of September 11th.
Correct. All right. Folks, if you're just joining us, you didn't miss the walk. The walk was originally, I guess let's put it this way, it was communicated that the walk was supposed to be starting, was it 2:23, just after 2:20 Eastern time, if I remember correctly. And SpaceX put an update on the website, not only sort of pushing the time of the walk back from the expected time, but also telling us that there was a window. So they had a 4-hour window to do the walk in. So even though they were sort of moving it back, they weren't really delaying it. They just pushed it to later in the window. In true SpaceX style, you never know what part of the window they're going to go in until they're about to go. So that seems like they have started their process here. Again, this is a replay from earlier. This is not, I believe, what's currently happening. Somebody can correct me if that's not correct. But
You're correct.
why is there so much bacon all of a sudden? Does anybody know what's going on? It's Jack. Did Jack tell you to raid this stream and say bacon when you got here? Is that what's going on here and why I'm so confused at 5:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Daylight time, but almost like he was hosting the launch stream, which looked beautiful from what we could see.
And they must have shut down the launch stream and brought it over to us, huh?
I did see someone just say bluebird bacon, so yes.
That's not a thing. Bluebird bacon is not a thing. You wouldn't get very much bacon, and I don't think it'd have a lot of fat. There'd be no flavor to it. Jerwa, there's no such thing as bluebird bacon, but thank you very much for the $20 super chat. Just a second ago, I saw some gifted memberships come through as well. Looks like it was Steve Peltonen. Steve, I tried to give your name a good shot there, but I think I got it right. Thank you so much for spreading the love around. 50 gifted memberships to other people here hanging out with us this evening who can enjoy some of the behind the scenes member content, stuff like that we like to do. Is that one more? Yeah, Logic Santana gifted one membership to folks. So if you're over there and you got one of those gifted memberships, make sure you say thanks to the folks who gave it to you, because it gives you access for 1 month to all of the cool stuff behind the scenes, early access to videos, photos, and stuff like that, yada, 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 stuff that we do here on the channel. And just remember, if you get the gifted membership and you don't renew it within that month, it'll go away, and one day you'll click and try to see the early photos from Starbase, and you won't have them. So in any event, we are going to continue on here, be reading some super chats, be answering some questions for you, but that's the plan. Let's see. I saw a question come by about, yes, it was a bacon raid. Yes, it was. I saw a question come by about whether or not the Dragon is currently connected to the second stage. So on our illustration, I guess it's not an illustration, on our little graphic where we show the position of it, you see the Dragon capsule, but you also see a part behind it. Maybe next time that pops up, we can talk about it a little bit more. But that's not the second stage, right, Sawyer?
Correct. The second stage is already separated away, and it burnt up intentionally around Australia. So the part that you're seeing there on the back, especially in this animation too, that is
there you
called
go.
the trunk. So in addition to the pressurized inside of the capsule where they are, well, prior to depressurization, you have the unpressurized portion in the back known as the trunk. That holds a lot of the life support equipment, that has the solar arrays on the outside that help power Dragon's batteries, that also holds the Plaser, the plug-in laser that they're using for Starlink testing.
Nice.
All of that is located in the trunk, and that is jettisoned prior to re-entry, but that will stay with them throughout the rest of the mission.
Yep. And I saw a question scroll by, like, why couldn't, with all the room in the trunk, because the trunk is actually used to take cargo up to the International Space Station when it's an ISS mission, right? Why couldn't they put an airlock in the trunk? And at first it's like, oh yeah, okay, there's some room there. But the important thing to remember is that the heat shield for the Dragon is actually between the capsule and the trunk, right? So you
Yes.
couldn't have like a hole in the heat shield and then crawl out the hole in the heat shield and then go into the trunk where there's an airlock or anything like that, because that heat shield in the bottom of the Dragon, sort of that one monolithic piece on the bottom of it, is in the way there. So a good question there. There is room in there in the trunk to carry cargo pieces, pallets up to the International Space Station, but not particularly useful for the humans inside the capsule to get out of it.
Right, and in general, that's what this area is used for in terms of getting on board the International Space Station. They have the docking adapter that's usually there on all of the International Space Station missions, so crew goes in and out that way anyway. The side hatch that they have is not opened in space. It is only closed on launch and reopened once they are back on the deck of the recovery ship, either Shannon or Megan.
You know, that's interesting, right? Like, we always talk, oh, mass is so important on a spacecraft, and oh, we don't have extra mass available for an airlock. It's interesting that they have two hatches on the Dragon. Does anybody... This is going to be a silly question, but I'm interested to talk about it. Why don't they load the astronauts in through the front hatch? like dump them in the top of the thing before launch and not have the side hatch. Like the side hatch is only for getting into the capsule before you take off, and then they use the side to get out after it splashes down, I believe. But why don't they just use the top hatch?
I mean, it would be great if they had like a fireman's pole and could slide into it. Uh, I think it's legitimately for ease of access, just like on the shuttle. Continuing the mentions there, how
Nice.
they had it in the payload bay because they could put it there. It attached basically to a part of the mid deck, and yet they all entered through the main hatch, which again also on the mid deck there, but that was on the side. I think it's more just ease of access, getting in and out.
I guess it makes sense. Like the mass penalty you pay is worth the ease of access and the ease of operations there, so you're not having to slide down a fireman's pole into the top of the capsule.
Yeah.
EJ, I think we've got EJ back. What do you think about the two hatches there? Is it just an ease of access thing, or
I think it's very much an ease of access thing, Das. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The side hatch is really optimized for egress when you're down on the ground. It's designed for egress in a environment with gravity, right?
Yep.
The reason why, I mean, you got to remember, I mean, those EVA suits that the Polaris Dawn crew has on are actually, they can very much move their arms around. We saw from the launch stream the other day that they do have mobility, but you're still carrying around that spacesuit. That would be tough to, as Sawyer said, you might need a fireman's pole to go down through the hatch vertically down into your seats, right? But yeah, and even then, even with the side hatch, they were like, oh, don't hit the seal. You got to make sure, you don't want your suit to contact the seal in the side hatch. Even the hatch that's optimized for that, it's still a little bit of a tight squeeze. Yeah. So each egress and ingress system is really designed around, one of them is designed for down here, the other one is designed for up there.
Yep.
Good deal. With that being said, I mean, Sawyer said shuttle, but I'll go with Soyuz. With the Soyuz, they do that. They actually go in through the orbital module, the front part of Soyuz, and they actually enter the crew module through, like, vertically. They go down into the crew module on Soyuz. So that does happen. But
it's almost like no other way to get to the Soyuz. The thing is so small, it's like cramming 3 sardines into a can. But really quickly, y'all, look at this. We got a super chat, $100 from Elizabeth here. Elizabeth, I'm going to go with Hepner for your last name, but this actually says it is their first super chat that they've ever done on the channel, and it was for $100 so early in the morning. Elizabeth, thank you so much for the support. Like, we're able to keep showing up and doing these streams for you because y'all keep showing up, and we really appreciate $100 is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll try to read some of these out as we go, folks, but let's do this up next. It sounds like the update from the capsule is that the astronauts are currently donning their suits as opposed to doffing their suits. They're putting the suits all the way on, getting all buttoned up so that they can use the suits to protect themselves from the vacuum of space. But let's talk just a little bit about the astronauts themselves. Sawyer, can you give us a rundown on that?
I sure can. How about we start with Anna? Anna, whose nickname on this is Walker Menon. She is technically the medical officer on her first space flight here. She has served medical roles previously at NASA, working on the biomedical part of the International Space Station. She actually ran all of the biomedical experiments that were conducted on Expedition 47, and 48 aboard the ISS. She also helped develop the role of the core, or the Crew Operations and Resource Engineer, basically SpaceX's fancy term for the capsule communicator, or Capcom, that NASA uses and previously used as well. So she is making her first flight. She will not be poking her head out of the capsule head there, but someone who is Sarah Gillis. And she will be making part of the EVA as EV2, nicknamed Cooper. She is the mission specialist on this. She's a lead space operations engineer. Basically, she helped with crew training and, in fact, helped designed some of the crew training procedures that are used for all of the astronauts. She worked closely with the Demo 2 astronauts back in 2020, which was the return of human spaceflight from U.S. soil after the retirement of the Space Shuttle program. She also, I point out, directly trained the Inspiration 4 crew, has spent time in mission controls and navigation officer, and I flew with her in a zero-gravity flight in support of Astro Access, an organization that helps prove that people with disabilities can fly in space and
Pretty
zero
cool.
gravity. Let's move on to Kid, or Scott Poteet, who is the pilot for this one. Again, also on his first space flight. And when I say pilot, I don't mean just of the spacecraft. He also has more than 20 years of time served in the United States Air Force, commanded his own squadron, as well as flying with the Thunderbirds. So totaling more than 3,200 hours in planes. He was the director of business development at Draken International and the vice president of strategy at Shift 4, as well as serving as mission director for the Inspiration 4 mission back in 2021. And of course, when we talk about Shift 4, we have to talk about Commander Rook, who ain't so much a rookie anymore, Jared Isaacman. He commanded the Inspiration 4 mission, which was the first all-private human spaceflight, as you see there, also in support of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, just like this one is. He has more than 7,000 hours flying in different types of aircraft, including ex-military vehicles. He is making his second flight into space, as we mentioned there. He is currently the CEO of Shift 4, which is a payment processing company, and helped co-found Draken International, which I should mention, in case you didn't know, is the world's largest private air force to help train members of the U.S. Armed Forces.
There you go. Sawyer, didn't you use that same thing, like, not such a rookie anymore on the launch stream?
I'm allowed to reuse good jokes or lines, right?
You need some new material. Like, come on. Not such a rookie anymore. I feel like you did finger guns when you said that.
No, that's for the Flame Trench Fridays at 5 on the NSF.
Oh, geez. All right, it's time for more GeoGuessr. I'm going to guess, EJ, where do you think this is?
That they are south of Australia. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can see Adelaide, and then in kind of mid-screen right, you can see Tasmania. They're going south of Australia right now.
I feel like that wasn't much of a guess. Like, that was just like geo-knower.
Sorry, I like maps.
It's too early in the morning. Here's
It's
the
too early, man.
context.
Then I will leave the location part to you so I don't mess up again.
Okay. I'll tell you exactly where they are. I got you. Just needed a cup of coffee.
I like it. Did you get some coffee now, AJ?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So you're up for the rest of the day now, huh?
Yeah, no, I'll be good.
If the script works, why micromanage it?
Mm-hmm.
Folks, if you're just joining us, how many people are here now? Hang on. 13,500 people got up this early in the morning. Matt Goslar, hope I got pretty close, gifted 50 memberships there. Just going to read that one out in real time. And then Man on Mars. Let's have a look here. Man on Mars did just about $50 in a super chat and says, "You're making history 59 years after Ed White dipped into the infinite blackness of space.
Yeah,
The
baby.
whole world is watching. What's your EVA float out song?" Nice. It's not like a walkout
Ooh.
song. It's a float out song. Round the Horde, Godspeed Polaris crew. EJ, you're a man of musical talents. What is your float out song?
Kashmir by Led Zeppelin.
I feel like you need to like bust out the guitar and play it, but I think we might get copyright struck.
Ba-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na. Yeah, no? All right. We don't want to get the copy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
There you go.
How about you, Sawyer?
Well, it depends. If we're talking like a full-on spacewalk, then I'm going Born to Run.
Born to Run.
But you wouldn't be running, you'd be floating.
Then I'd change the lyrics to Born to Float in my head.
All right. Yep, that's fair. Yeah, all right. Math checks
Born
out.
to Float. I feel like I'd have to go with like some sort of epic orchestral, like something by the planets by or whatever, right? Like if you've ever heard those songs, I feel like walking out to like Jupiter or Mars or something like that, like the sun coming up on the planet and the limb of the planet behind you, and then you're like your head poking out of the airlock. I think I'd go with one of the classical songs like that. So I'd
I
probably
saw.
Theme from 2001.
Yeah, there you go.
I wouldn't want to jinx it there. They may not let me back in the hatch.
Oh, I might
But
change my answer to Drops of Jupiter. I just thought of as well.
Drops of Jupiter.
I saw
Nice.
somebody in
Train.
chat say heavy metal. That's yep.
I see
dumb-
Black Hole
dumb sound
Sun walking on
Yeah.
the sun, walking on sunshine.
Well, I almost said
Starman.
Walking on Sunshine, but I was like, Walking on Sunshine? That's not like an epic song to come out of the capsule.
Ooh, Pink Floyd's Shine On, You Crazy Diamond.
Oh,
Queen,
that's a
Don't
good
Stop
choice.
Me Now is in
Another
there as
good
well.
choice.
Yeah.
That has
Yeah.
impeccable taste.
I like it. All right. Hey, folks, we're not going to make the whole stream about saying thank you, but we couldn't be here without y'all. So, everybody supporting what we do, especially those 50 gifted subs, which it will not let me click on now. What are you doing? Seriously? Okay, I got it. From Matt's. I said thank you, then I went right back on to the next thing. 50 gifted subs is absolutely, positively nothing to sneeze at. So, thank you so much for the support there, and we'll say thanks to a couple other people as we go through. But what's up next? What is our update on the capsule right now?
Well, right now, I believe they are doing their comm checks now that they're in their suits. The EVA will officially start per SpaceX's definition, just like with Roscosmos, once the suit purge is initiated, which takes about 6 minutes. They do their suit leak checks, and then that's when about 25 minutes later, they will start opening the hatch.
And I think they've gone through some of this already. It's not like you get up there and, oh, this is going to be the first time they check the suits. Earlier today or tonight, who knows when you're orbiting the planet what time it is, didn't they go through some tests, CJ?
Yeah, there was obviously the suit leak checks that they did during ascent, right? But they've also they're doing pre-breathing exercises. They've been basically doing that since they've been up on orbit in preparation for this EVA, even before they, a couple of days prior. They're doing pre-breathing to make sure that nobody gets decompression sickness. But
Yep.
yeah, right now they're still putting on the suits, and they haven't necessarily finished doing the leak checks just yet. But if they've done it, they've probably done some tests prior. But to my knowledge, I'm not sure which ones they were off the top of my head. But I know that this has been an ongoing thing even before, like, the day of doing EVAs. They've still been doing all kinds of readiness testing here on Resilience to make sure that they're good to go.
Day 2, so yesterday is when they were scheduled to put on the suits and do all of the testing on it. And then, obviously, once they checked out, tested the procedure in orbit, now they are going to try donning their suits right now.
All right. A quick clarification here, folks. We're coming up on just about, we put NET up there. It wasn't launch minus, right? But we put NET 34 minutes on the clock. And we did our best. We think we've got this sort of timed together. So SpaceX's communicated time when the EVA will officially start should be right around when that clock in the upper left-hand corner hits 00000, however many zeros there would be in that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's still early in the morning, so math. How does it work? There is the beginning of the EVA at that 0000 is when the suit purge is completely initiated and the EVA starts. But we think if we've got that right, it says all times approximate. That's coming up now in just over 33 minutes. The hair definitely does look goofy, SG. It seems like it's if you've got enough hair to do it and you're in space in that micro G environment, it's almost like a compulsory that you let your hair go wild like that and see it sort of bounce around in the microgravity. I'm surprised. It seems like letting the hair go wild increases the possibility that you may end up with a hair in a seal somewhere. Y'all think that that's like a problem, or how do they deal with it, or what?
I mean,
Go ahead, Sawyer.
You all said the same thing. Nice. You both said I
We
mean. I
both
should have called on
mean.
somebody.
You do.
When you think about it on the International Space Station, actually, yeah, it risks getting up in those vents, but the air conditioning vents on the space station are actually used to kind of keep the lines clear in a way.
They're like vacuum
So,
cleaners.
yeah, I mean, when
kind
they
of.
are shaving aboard the International Space Station or doing haircuts, things like that, of course, they have a vacuum to try and capture anything, but they intentionally do it with their head right next to one of the air vents that would suck in the air so that instead of floating all over the spacecraft, they just collect it off of the screen and get rid of it. So, yeah.
Jack is talking in the back channel. Isn't it like a Flowbee? Don't they have like a vacuum cleaner hair cutting thing?
Well, yeah, as you can see, it sucks and it cuts.
Thank you, EJ.
Yeah, I got you.
But here aboard the Dragon, we don't expect they're going to be doing any hairstyling or hair cutting. So I really do wonder, like, if there's a loose hair floating in the capsule and they depressurize the capsule, it's not like they depressurize the capsule by opening the door, right? It's not like the sci-fi trope where you're there and you open up the door and there's like, whoosh, and all this air blows out, like way more air pressure than there would actually be in that space station or whatever. They just lost pressure. So it's not like there would be this massive flow of air out of the capsule through the door. So it seems unlikely that you would have a hair that might be floating in the capsule that gets sucked out and then stuck to the seal. Am I thinking about that correctly?
Yes.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, I think. There's just that's like one of the things I see, like when you see it on the sci-fi show in the space station or the spacecraft depressurizes and everything's getting sucked out. It's like, how much air do they have in that thing? Good grief. It's only one atmosphere difference between the inside and the outside, if that. So
I mean,
go ahead. EJ.
Go ahead. The other thing to take into account here is that you're not like, if you're talking about like a seal on a hatch or anything, there is no way that there would be anything with the seal or hatch open here without them having their spacesuits on, right? It's the operations there that are going to keep keep that from happening. Like, oh, my hair's stuck in the door. That's never going to happen because the only time you'd have the door open, you'd have your spacesuit on, right?
Yeah. I was more
Important to
thinking
keep that
like
into account.
from earlier when you have your hair sort of floating wild and then one comes loose. It's like, I look at the shower drain after my wife gets out of the shower and I'm like, how does this work?
Man, too real. too real.
But if there's a hair floating in the capsule, they have like a it's not a Snoopy cap. That's what it was way back in Apollo. And they call it Snoopy on shuttle, Sawyer?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So they have the cap and the spacesuit, helmet, and all these sorts of things. So I don't think it'd be like, oh, we closed the capsule, and then somebody's like, oh no, you closed it on my hair. Open it again. Open it again. That's not going to be a concern. But some interesting questions there.
Yeah.
Here is a super interesting question, EJ. There's sun shining on those rails and on the outside of the capsule. We hear all these stories about the temperature differential. Oh, in the sun it's this hot, and in the shade it's this cold. Are the rails or the outside of the capsule going to be hot when they touch them? Of course, they have the spacesuit gloves on and stuff, right? But how do you think that works out up there?
Yeah, you're looking at a pretty extreme temperature differential between the dark and light spots on the spacecraft. That's something that thermals are something that you absolutely need to take into account. Everybody thinks space is cold. That's actually not true. It's not cold. It's not hot either. It's nothing. So because there's nothing there, there's no avenue for heat to go through. The capsule sitting in the sunlight ends up absorbing all of the heat, and it has no way to get rid of it. So the areas, I mean, not that you're going to take your glove off, Das, right, and go and try and touch the thing, but the areas that are lit by the sun are actually, the temperature does fluctuate rapidly between the light and the dark spots on the capsule. That's the particular reason why the Skywalker that you guys see on your screen right there is made out of materials. It's made out of special materials that are used in Super Draco manufacturing per SpaceX. It's actually designed to deal with that high thermal transient environment that they're going to encounter here. So is it going to be hot? Yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to be very hot. I mean, you're not going to feel it through the spacesuit, but yeah, it will be hot, and it will be really, really cold in the dark areas of the capsule. Yes, absolutely.
That's sort of something that they have, I guess, calculated and engineered and designed for here
Yep.
for the spacesuits that they're going to be using. But this is somewhat important, right? Because we mentioned briefly, oh, it's a commercial mission, a commercial spacewalk, right? NASA has done lots of spacewalks. Other organizations have done lots of spacewalks, but they're always governments, right? They're big countries and stuff like that. So here we have a private entity, and SpaceX actually designed their own spacesuit. This isn't like, oh, we went out to a contractor and we got a contractor to design a spacesuit for us, right? SpaceX designed their own spacesuits based on the flight suits that they have, like a more robust version of the flight suits that they normally wear in the Dragon. And these spacesuits that SpaceX designed have been tested and checked out, and engineered by. So, well, there's a picture of SpaceX Mission Control. So when they open the hatch and when they are doing the stand-up EVA here, these are going to be privately developed spacesuits commissioned by commission's maybe not really the right term, but just they're hired. It's a commercial launch. Like Isaacman, Polaris Dawn paid them for this service to go to space and do this spacewalk, and that's something that hasn't been done before. It's interesting. Like, in order for us to sort of move into space, we need to see more things like this. We had a chance to sit down with some of the, actually the entire crew. We had Mike Massimino and Garrett Reisman and the crew of Polaris Dawn here. And one of the questions that we actually asked them was whether or not they had any personalization on their spacesuit. You know, in sci-fi, you see like the belters, and they're all kitted out with their tattoos, but then their spacesuits have like art and stuff like that, and the helmet has like their call sign and all this sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about, right, EJ?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that we've really made it in space once we get there. But for the mission today, look at this. Hey, it's Mike and Garrett sitting down with the crew of Polaris Dawn. Neat. For today, we did ask them, and there's not really any outward personalization for the first suits here. So I think we would get to a point where we've done this. And one day, can you imagine NASA letting the astronauts like, okay, you can paint your own helmet, because it's not even really their own helmet, is it, Sawyer?
No, it is not.
Yeah, they share it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, I think it'll be very interesting. I hope in a future mission, even though they're not, painting their helmet nose art or whatever the right terminology would be on the helmets here, one day we'll see that, and I feel like that will be a step towards space, right? Like we've sort of made that step into space because humans are being more human in space. How are we doing on the time? Less than 25 minutes. What's our status update here, Sawyer?
Still proceeding as of now. You saw there a moment ago the thrusters that were firing earlier. That was when, Flight Day 1, they reached that high apogee, the highest that any human had been since the Apollo program more than 50 years ago, and that was 1,400.7 kilometers up. That also marks the furthest that any woman has been from the planet.
That is a thing, because going out there to the moon in the Apollo missions, all dudes.
Yep.
I can say that, right, EJ?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
That's what it was. Yeah. So it's curious. What sort of, I saw this scroll by just a second ago. What sort of radiation environment are they actually doing the EVA in here, though? Because they raised the altitude up to the higher altitude, but then they lowered it back down. It's like 700 kilometers or something, EJ?
Yep. 700 by 190 is their target orbit for doing these EVA activities.
700 by 190. Does that feel low on the periapsis side?
Yeah, that is a little on the lower side, but I think that's done out of an abundance of caution in case they need to come down quickly.
In case they need to come down quickly. How does that, like, what do you mean? How does that work out?
So when you're if they were up in a 700 by 700 kilometer circular orbit, I mean, first of all, that would require more fuel, and I'm not sure if Dragon has enough fuel to do that, especially when it was at 1400 by 190, right? If you're up there at 700 circular, you are afforded more time to EVA, but if something, I don't like bad juju, but if something did go wrong and you had to get out of Dodge quickly, it would take longer to come back down. It would take longer to, come down from a 700 by 700 orbit as opposed to a 700 by 190 orbit. So this orbit that they're in is actually very eccentric.
Right.
Eccentricity refers to, in orbital mechanics, kind of the shape of the orbit. The orbit can either be three things. It can either be an escape, which means you're leaving the celestial body you're around. It can either be elliptical, which case you have an eccentric orbit, or you can either have zero eccentricity, which is a perfectly circular orbit. The eccentricity of this orbit here, slight eccentricity, affords them, I think, a better abort contingency in case, because this is. It might not seem like much. I mean, Darcy talked about it. They're just, they're just peeking their head out. That's super dangerous.
Yeah.
This is a very risky mission. I mean, people, people are going to say like, oh, they're just sticking their head out. But they're depressurizing this capsule. They're depressurizing it down. And that is not something to be taken lightly. That is a very complicated activity. It's not like the ISS or the shuttle, right? You were saying earlier, it's not like that where you have the benefit of an airlock. Like, if something goes wrong, I'll just go back in the airlock and go back home. Like, there's a lot of inherent risk here with depressurizing a full capsule. So I think that the eccentric orbit is there in case of an emergency, in case something goes wrong. You're physically and actually kind of, to talk in rocket science terms, you're less delta V away from the surface, right?
Gotcha.
Than you would be at a 700 by 700.
Yeah, instead of like doing we're going to go to a 1,400 kilometer circular orbit and do an EVA or something like that. It's important to note here, folks, they are not at the higher altitude, the 1,400 kilometer altitude. They are not doing the EVA at that altitude. They went up to that altitude earlier, but then they lowered it back down again. I think those are some of the orbital animations or the orbital graphs we had sort of prepared there if we swap back over to those. But
yeah, that was the track from initial parking orbit to the higher orbit, working their way down. And as of this moment, a couple of minutes ago, the last data we got is that they were 580 kilometers up, traveling at 25,718 kilometers per hour.
Gotcha. But look at the difference. This one says orbit 16, right? But on the left-hand side, it's so skinny. Like, it's so close to the surface of the Earth. It's tough to realize exactly how thin our atmosphere is when you compare it to the entire diameter of the Earth, right? And on the other side, on the right-hand side, that 1,073 kilometers, like, look at the difference in EJ. That's what you were talking about with the eccentric orbit, right? It's not a perfect circle.
Yep, exactly. It's slightly elliptical. Like, it doesn't look like much looking at this infographic. That's actually pretty eccentric for a low Earth orbit mission.
Yeah, it really is. 195 is half, not quite half of what the International Space Station orbits at. The ISS hangs out around what, like 400?
400, yep.
400 kilometers up. So
about 270 miles.
270 miles. So that's like half the normal orbital altitude of the International Space Station there on the lower side. But right now, the Orbit 16, that's not their current orbit. I believe they're in the lower orbit than that right now.
Yep. 195 by 700.
195
That's what we're talking about here. Now, just in case anybody needs a refresher for orbital mechanics or doesn't understand exactly what we're talking about here, the apogee is the highest point in an orbit around Earth. Okay. So their apogee in this particular case is about 700 kilometers. And then you have the lowest point in your orbit, right? That's perigee. Your perigee is 190. Okay, the more of a difference you have between your apogee and perigee of your orbit, the more eccentric your orbit is, or the more elliptical shaped it is. If your apogee and perigee are the same, you have zero eccentricity and you have a perfectly circular orbit.
And that's not what we're looking at here because we have two different altitudes.
Exactly. There's a slight eccentric component to the orbit here by having a differential altitude between apogee and perigee. Correct.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. Looks like we're troubleshooting a little bit of a problem with the Everything app feed right now. But there is a great question that's come through here that I think we can spend a little bit of time talking as we tick under 18 minutes before the expected beginning of the EVA. The ISS, the International Space Station, has the station itself, and it has the capsules that the astronauts actually ride up there, your Soyuz, your Dragons, etc., right? Just your Starliners. I'm not sure. You ride to the station with the Starliner, from the station with the Starliner, but whatever.
Technicalities.
Technicalities.
Yeah.
On the ISS, they have those capsules there as their backup plan. When you are in the Dragon here and you're not going to the ISS, this orbit is drastically different than the ISS. It's not like they can, we'll do a little burn and go to the ISS as our safe harbor. What backups do they have here with the Dragon capsule? How should we talk through that, Sawyer?
That's a really good question. Do you mind asking it one more time? Sorry.
Oh, we're talking about, there's only the capsule. There's not the International Space Station or another place that you can go to have a safe environment. If there is a problem, say, with the hatchery sealing, right, or they can't get the capsule repressurized or whatever, what is their backup for that?
The backup at that point is basically get out of Dodge as quick as you can and get home. There is no safe haven, so to speak. They're not in the right phasing, so the alignment as well as altitude from where the International Space Station is, plus they have no docking port, so they can't quite go there. But the fact that they are in their suits and their suits are pressurized, at that point, given that low apogee, or the low perigee, excuse me, like EJ was just talking about, that's when you stay pressurized and you keep those suits going with all the extra oxygen that they keep on board just in case this happens, and you get home ASAP.
I think that's sort of the salient point there. Like when the Dragon is depressurized, their backup is the spacesuit. Like they go from being the shared spacecraft, which is the Dragon, to their sort of personal spacecraft, which are the spacesuits. Now the Dragon is still providing the via the umbilical, the oxygen, comms, electricity, all that sort of stuff, right? But say they couldn't get the capsule repressurized, the entire point of the spacesuit, and clearly why everybody has a spacesuit on because they're depressurizing the entire capsule, right, is the fact that they have those spacesuits there. And I do imagine there are contingency plans, like if something goes on, we live in the suits, we come down in this fashion, in this sort of controlled fashion. We help with that because we've minimized our energy here, right? We're not up at a 1,400 kilometer circular orbit. We have that low periapsis down there, or perigee, I guess, is the term we'd use with Earth. But they would get on back down while they're in the suits, just in case there's anything like that. Again, we're talking through some hypotheticals here. Not really, there's no indication that there's anything like that going on as we just click through 15 minutes before we expect the EVA to begin. All right. Anybody seeing any other interesting things to chat about here? I know I've been sort of running it so far.
I mean, the other thing to take into account, and here comes more orbital mechanics, everybody. I know it's a little bit early for this. I get it. But the other thing to take into account is that another component of defining orbits around a celestial body is called orbital inclination. The inclination is kind of the tilt relative to the equatorial plane of a celestial body that you're orbiting around. So if that was another language to everybody, just hear me out here. The orbit is tilted relative to the equator, and the angle at which the orbit has when it passes relative to the equator is your inclination. The Polaris Dawn mission is in a 51.7, I think, degrees inclined orbit. That 51.7, 51.6 degree inclined orbit, we were talking about safety contingencies here, Das. The reason why they're in that type of orbit is because that is the type of orbit that SpaceX has their recovery equipment set up for receiving Dragon missions coming back from the ISS. Now, Polaris Dawn is not equipped to go anywhere near the ISS. It doesn't have a docking port. NASA would be like, nope, that's not coming near us at all. We don't want that here, right? We have a keep out sphere for a reason, But the inclination of the orbit is another safety contingency there because that basically keeps all of SpaceX's recovery vessels that they use for recovering and receiving Dragon capsules when they come back down. They don't have to move them. They're in the same spots.
Yeah.
Makes it nice and easy. Go with what you know, right? That's what you got to do with spaceflight. You have to be slow and methodical and do what you understand. Only scratching the unknown a little bit at a time. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, right?
You got it. It's good to continue chewing, though, right? Oh, wait,
Yep.
we have one
Hey,
for
you
the
gotta have
ISS as well.
20 bites, or else you have digestive problems. You get 20 bites there. There you go. It's
I
true.
have digestive problems when I wake up too early in the morning, EJ.
You are not wrong. Yep. Yeah. No, I'm picking up what you're laying down there.
There you go. For comparison, here's a graphic showing the ISS's orbit, because it's the International Space Station here. And it's close. The two numbers aren't exactly the same, but you see how it's about the same altitude all the way around the planet, right? EJ, that is a less eccentric orbit, like you were saying. That's
Yep.
more circular, less elliptical. And if we compare that with the Polaris Dawn orbits, where you have that 195 on one side, 700 on the other side, or all the way up to 1400, there you go. See the difference? How you have it's grazing almost
Yep.
the atmosphere on the left-hand side, and
Little
you have
egg-shaped.
yeah, more of a gap. If you sort of squint, it still looks like it's a circle, but the math says it's not quite a circle.
That's right.
All right, where are we? 11 minutes and, I'm not going to say the seconds because that clock is approximate, but for the latest update, the astronauts are continuing to prepare for the EVA. And we are going to wait. We're trying to see if we can't get telemetry back. We weren't getting the live feed from SpaceX anymore, but hopefully we have that back soon. It is the intention, if I'm not mistaken, for SpaceX, they have enough cameras on the thing, right, to show live views of the spacewalk. So, of course, we have to get those feeds from SpaceX, but for the folks that were asking, we are expecting to be able to see that live. Right now, we're on sort of the explainer graphics here, where the capsule is flying over right now, and some of the things we're talking about orbit-wise and stuff like that on the left-hand side, because we don't have those live views, but we do expect that SpaceX will get them back sooner rather than later. All right. Yeah, the official update is that they're still donning the suits. If you're just joining us, the EVA has not happened yet. Earlier today, or earlier tonight, a while ago, the original communicated time was that the spacewalk was supposed to happen around just after 2:20, right? a.m. Eastern time. And that got pushed back, and we learned that there was a window. They actually said they had a 4-hour window that they were planning on doing the EVA in. So here we are, coming up around 5:58, almost 6 a.m. here on the East Coast. And they are moving towards not quite the end of that window, but just later in the window to start the EVA. Freebirding it? I'm not sure that's really the right terminology there. Are they holding on? They've got the walker handrails.
I would not be letting go of that if I went outside of this capsule.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, your tether is not. It's not a climbing harness. Your tether is there to give you air and life support. I wouldn't rely on the tensile strength of that. Like Ed White style from the early space program missions to get back in. I would not be letting go of that. Like when NASA does an EVA, an extravehicular activity around the ISS, they on the extravehicular mobility units, their spacesuits that they use, they have climbing harnesses. And you keep in mind that the EMUs that they use are self-contained systems, so they don't have a tether. But they use climbing harnesses to make sure they're always latched. They have 2 of them, just like if you were, climbing up they're not bouldering, but if you were climbing up, climbing up a rock, you'd have two. You have 2 harnesses. I'm not sure they have any of that here, so I wouldn't rely on my tether to pull me back in. If I would go outside the spacecraft. It was me, but I wouldn't be letting go of the walker.
EJ, wait. Oh, go ahead, Sawyer. Go.
I was going to say, it's also worth noting, you're talking about those EMUs at the space station. They also have the equivalent of, I don't want to call it a jetpack, but they have a... Right, it's called this... It's called the Safer. It's a way for them to get back if for some reason they come loose from their connections. Whereas this just has a 12-foot tether. That's about it.
Yep, so it's risky.
EJ, all right, you're there.
Yes, sir.
You're sticking your head out the hatch. would it be death grip on the railings? Like just bam, both hands like bending the railings because you're holding on. You wouldn't go like I let go, like just let go for just a second and float free.
Maybe if my feet were still in the capsule and somebody could grab at me, but yeah, I mean, when I say Ed White style, the Ed White went the first
Like floating
American
outside.
to do an EVA. Yeah, he just like kind of jumped out and they said, "Oh, you know, here, have some compressed air. And, you know, if you want to get back, just point the compressed air gun in the opposite direction of where you want to go, and Newton's third law will do its thing." It's like, oh,
Some
okay.
Martian nonsense.
Yeah, it reminds me of Wall-E when he's using the fire extinguisher to maneuver around. Actually, that, guys.
Actually,
Yeah.
that.
Actually, that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sawyer,
Be holding on, man.
Yeah.
holding on. Sawyer, on this, we've seen this on the ISS, right? Where they
Right.
have like the mobility enhancer where their feet are strapped in, and then the Canadarm will move them around. When they're standing out of the Dragon capsule, are their feet going to be strapped to anything? There's not like a platform their feet are strapped in, are there?
From my understanding, there is no like foot restraint platform. I'm sure there's going to be a way that they can kind of hook their feet onto possibly the Skywalker unit, the connections, the bars that they have, but
Yeah.
those are primarily handholds. From my understanding, it's kind of just that sort of tunnel, so to speak, that narrows at the top of the Dragon capsule leading to the hatch is the only area where their feet will kind of be hanging out.
Gotcha. It's just curious. It's like how many points of contact, and I thought about that when I asked EJ if he would let go of the handrails, right? Like
Yep.
if you let go of the handrails, would you be free floating sort of in the mouth of the capsule there? And it sounds like, yeah, you would.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that, you know, like as long as somebody could reach up from inside the capsule and grab you and pull you back in,
Grab
right?
you by the ankles and pull you back in.
You don't just want a Superman right out the hatch. You just, "All right, I can fly." Okay, nope, wouldn't do that.
That's
Just when I
not
thought I
right.
was out, they pulled me back in.
Yep.
So, y'all, currently, it sounds like the astronauts are standing by for seat rotation and suit leak checks. Not getting video of any of this, apparently. Not sure what's going on with SpaceX there, but maybe this is part of the plan. We're not getting live feeds that we can share on this, but they are standing by for the seat rotation and the suit leak checks. And I saw a question scroll by about when the hatch will open. So this is a process, right? When the clock gets down to 0000 that you see in the upper left-hand corner, that's when the suit purge is supposed to be initiated. And that's how SpaceX is defining the start of the EVA here. It's going to take about 5 minutes and 5 minutes 40 seconds or so for the suit purge to complete. They're going to go through some leak checks, and that's going to take 30 seconds or so. But it is 30 minutes from the time that our clock hits 000 here to the time that hatch opening begins. They'll be unlatching the hatch approximately, time's approximate, 30 minutes and 25 seconds after they start the EVA. And again, that's 00. Yeah, there you go. It's selected. Look at that. And then that's unlatching the hatch. The hatch opening begins a couple minutes after that, 3 minutes after that. And then the EVA-1, or EV-1, not EVA-1, exits the Dragon 33 minutes and 55 seconds, approximately, after we get to that 000. So SpaceX has plenty of time as they continue to work this to also fix whatever's going on with the live feeds so that we can see them here as well. But we do expect that there'll be some feeds of that. In the meantime, we're showing graphics, we're talking, we're answering questions, yada, 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 right? That's the plan. All right. Just reading through some things.
By the way, we're talking about EV1 and EV2.
Thank you.
I
Sawyer,
believe we now
yes.
finally have clarification that EV1, the first person that will be doing the spacewalk, is Jared Isaacman, and Sarah Gillis will be EV2.
That seems like the sort of thing. It's the old moon landing, who steps out first race condition, like who's going to be the first one to do it. I guess Jared Isaacman commanding the mission here, going to be the first one. It sort of makes sense, right, EJ?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know.
He's financing the whole thing. He's a major stakeholder in this mission. Yeah, you can go outside first.
Do you think it was like, all right, we're going to rock, paper, scissors, like round robin and see who goes out first?
Copy that.
Oh, there may be some comms.
Can you confirm
Yep,
crew's
hold on.
ready
We got
with
core.
the current glove zipper ops?
All right, I guess they just needed me to say it was coming soon, and then there it is.
Okay, we thought we were going to get some comms, and we heard a beep, and not a lot of comms after that there.
So it sounded like
Copy.
they were
Standing by.
So they're going to get those seats rotated, and then we're pretty much going to be ready to start getting into things. And our EVA is going to officially start when we start flowing O2 into those suits.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
So
it sounded like they were getting ready to rotate the seats into the down position.
Yep.
If I had to guess, it's more like it's so they have more space to move about the cabin. Make sure your tray and seat backs are in the upright and locked position, I guess. And there were also some things about the zippers on the suit to make sure that the zippers are working correctly. They're probably for leak check stuff, right? Yeah.
look at the timing here, EJ. We're a minute and a half away from the zero, the start of the EVA. They've just crossed from the Pacific Ocean over the coast of Mexico there. But if I had to guess, in a minute and a half, they're going to be over the United States when the EVA officially begins.
How about that?
Intentional? I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's pretty wild. They're almost flying by Starbase, Das, right?
They are almost
Very
flying
close.
by Starbase.
We got Starbase on the right-hand side of your screen there. You could see basically where the land on the right side of the screen kind of bows out a little bit.
Yep.
That's South Padre Island, Port Isabel, Brownsville, the Rio Grande Valley. It's right there.
They should wave. It's
There
still
you go.
early over there. It's just coming up on 5 a.m. on the coast
Yep.
of South Texas there. So I wonder. Okay, it all comes down to, and I haven't done the math on this, but if the sun is shining on the Dragon capsule, but it's dark down on the ground, is it possible that if you were at Starbase, you could look up and see the capsule right now? It all depends on exactly where the sun is.
In the right lighting conditions,
Oh,
it is very possible.
And tear suit deucers.
I heard suit deucers.
Copy, setting into it.
Just a quick reminder, in case if you missed the top of the show, we're going to be referring to the crew a little differently for the EVA activity than we were previously. So we heard Anna talk EV1. That was referring to Jared. So his call sign for this spacewalk operation is EV1. Sarah's call sign will be EV2. Anna will be support 2, and Scott will be support 1.
So there you go, folks, listening in. That's what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, the EV1 versus EV2, right, Sawyer?
Exactly. And then instead of IVA support, intravehicular activity, they're being called support 1 and support 2.
Gotcha. And we've got an update from Jack, who's out there at Starbase. And unfortunately, it's cloudy. Jack did go outside and looked at the sky, but unable to see the Dragon going over, not because of lighting conditions, but because of clouding conditions.
And Francine coming by, yeah.
Yeah, it's Francine continuing up the coast there. It's still a little soggy out there at Starbase, but going over the Houston area now, the big dip there is going to be near Houston, Texas, and the coast of Louisiana is where it sort of curves back around to the south, it looks like.
Yep. They're currently checking out the heads-up display units. Those are now powering up. That is going to give them temperature, pressure, and humidity readings right through their eyesight near the helmet, which is new to spacewalking. On the US suits, in case you're wondering, they actually have their measurements on a pack on their chest, and they are written backwards. So they have a mirrors on their wrists that they use to point forward and then take a look.
I think they have like the HUDs in the helmet as well, and then I don't think the helmets for the two EVs have cameras in them too, like a POV camera sort of deal. But I think that's the big difference between the two suits, like the folks staying inside versus the folks going outside, right?
Exactly.
I say going outside, you know
Oh,
what
I
I
think
mean.
we're getting a live
You
view.
know, shot on board. Look at that. Oh, wow. This is happening, guys.
There we go. Yep. Looking at Jared right there.
Yeah. Looks like
Yeah.
they're in a very
It's got
intentional
real.
position right now,
Which
like
you can see
holding
the
their
hatch
arms. Yep.
above them. And in fact,
Yep.
to help make it easier for them, they actually added a motor that will activate to help open and close as they start and end their external portion.
So it's not just them pushing against it; it's actually got a little assist, basically.
Exactly.
Hey,
SpaceX, we're on backup
gents, you
sensors.
guys-
Repeat HUD checks.
okay.
We'll listen in. You can actually
Crew's
see the
going to check
umbilical.
out.
Yeah, you can see the umbilical down there. He's reading something off of his arm or checking something.
They're checking the heads-up display, it sounds like, so I'm sure that I wonder if there's something they're looking at related to the HUD.
That looked like a thumbs up from Kid there.
And from Jared, yeah. Which obviously right now the cabin still pressurized as their visors are open. Once they start, those will be closed and locked.
I was really looking down at that to see if I could see the glass in there or not, but it looks like EJ ran outside real quick. Capsule's going over the northeast part of the United States. EJ is up in Boston, Massachusetts, so he's going to hop outside and see if he can't spot himself a Dragon capsule with 4 human beings on board going through the sky.
Yep, and for reference, it appears like the entry capsule that they came in on is to the right. You can see to the left that square kind of thing that is where all of their touchscreen displays are. And again, obviously the hatch is up relative to this view.
Yeah, you can see the handle up there that you could get up to the hatch with. I don't know if you could quite hook your toe in there, if you're supposed to hook a toe in there if you needed to do that, but that's sort of the orientation here. The seats are sort of looking up towards the hatch.
Yep. And there's a good view of all of that. And you could see, looks like support 2 over there, Anna working on the touchscreens, or that could be Sarah. So far, they're at their perigee in the orbit, it looks like, as well, at an altitude of about 196 kilometers up at more than 27,500 kilometers an hour.
Just continuing to go through the checklist there. There's a better view of the umbilical you can sort of see going across, and it sort of goes down to Isaacman leg. I'm supposed to say Isaacman or EV1 at this point? Which one's correct, Sawyer?
I mean, they're the same diff, but yeah.
I'm not
the
in
technical
mission control.
term is mission control referred to him as EV1.
Well, if they let me in mission control, then I'll call him EV1.
But yeah, if you compare that to what they used during the Gemini days, this is a much smaller, thinner, and sleeker one that attaches right into their thigh. That is the same type of connection that they use when they are in their seats for launch and landing, it appears, in terms of getting them oxygen and pressurizing the suits. And the HUD checkouts are complete. We are now awaiting the official go, no-go for Spacewalk here.
And folks, if you're just joining us, I saw some folks asking, when's the spacewalk going to start? It's a methodical process. They have officially started the EVA with some of the procedures they're running on the suits here, but they're not actually opening the hatch yet. The hatch is supposed to open in roughly another 30 minutes or so, estimated times here, but they are not opening the hatch yet. They have a little bit of time making sure all the suits, systems, connections, pressurizations, everything is good to go before they get up there and start opening the hatch. But it isn't hours away currently, knock on wood. It isn't hours away. It is, per the timeline, expected to be less than 30 minutes away now.
Right, the entire procedure from start to finish is under 2 hours.
Yep. And I see in chat somebody saying, didn't we do this like 60 years ago? You're right. We did do this like 60 years ago. We did this in much different orbits, even on the way back from the moon, higher than this orbit. But we haven't done it since then in this sort of capacity, and we need to be able to. So that's why this event is so important. It's getting us back. I guess back, it's actually pushing us forward into new capabilities here because this is a private spacewalk with a private team of individuals. This isn't a government. This isn't a country doing this like it's what was done back in the past. This is a private entity, a private, what's the word I'm looking for, sir? Your organization, enterprise.
That works, yeah.
That's happening here. And we need to do it more, right? We need to do it more. Hey, that is an interesting distinction in chat. It says they did it 60 years ago. We need to do it today. I like that.
Well put, yeah. I mean, the first spacewalk technically was a cosmonaut. That was Alexei Leonov. And then, as mentioned, Ed White performed the first U.S. spacewalk. We're talking early to mid-60s. So it's been a while. As great as it is to be able to do the spacewalks on the ISS and maneuver all the way around, if we're going back to the moon, this is something that we need to be able to do, especially with the Lunar Gateway Station that's planned, with all of the EVAs. Even during Apollo, there were a couple of Apollo missions where, while the crew was walking on the moon, the person in the command service module still in orbit did their own spacewalks up there. Very similar.
Yeah, I saw that scroll through, and honestly, I know that it was probably intended as sort of like a poking fun, like, oh, it's been 60 years since we did this, but we can't just sit here and be like, well, they did it 60 years ago, we don't need to do it anymore. I loved what I saw scroll through in chat. I'm sorry I didn't catch the name, but they did it 60 years ago. We need to be able to do it today. A lot more than just being on the ISS. Sure, NASA still does it on the ISS, but a private capsule, private enterprise, private individuals here, not the government, not a country doing this. One day we'll see commercial, hopefully space stations and commercial EVAs, and this is the start of how you go out to mine an asteroid, right? It's a long way between this and that, but these are the things that we need to be doing. We can't just sit back and say, "Oh, well, don't need to do this. We already did this 60 years ago," right?
Yep. You could also see out the window now, orbital sunrise there. They are now in daylight, which again, they get 45 minutes of daylight and 45 minutes of darkness each day, or each rotation, I should say, each orbit.
Yeah. Getting some check-ins from some of our NSF team members here. If you don't know, we're NASASpaceflight.com. NSF here on YouTube, we're an independent team of folks who love covering space. You can tell that we're not NASA because of the way we talk, right?
Please, we are in position for EVA start.
Nice.
Excellent
SpaceX
news.
copies, crew in position.
But you saw
Did anybody catch what they just said there?
They are clear for EVA start.
Clear for EVA start.
Let's go.
Excellent. So not quite starting the timer right there exactly on time, but getting close to where we'll start counting up in that timeline, it sounds like. The check-ins from the NSF team members. Looks like we were able to see the Dragon pass over in Ohio. One of our folks, Gage, popped outside and saw Dragon pass over in Ohio. New York.
Support 2, comm check.
SpaceX copies all, good comms, all 4 crew.
SpaceX copies all, good comms, all 4 crew.
So essentially now all of our crew are on open
radios.
mics. They can all talk and hear each other. And
I say it sounds like a hot mic, but it's
Yeah, it did. It did sound like the top mic, or like a hot mic. But EJ, sounds like you're back. Did you catch it up in Massachusetts?
I got Vandenberg. I live too close to the ocean. the marine layer is too thick. I couldn't see it.
Lame. Hey, at least you went out inside.
Also,
Touched grass for a second. It was great.
By the way, just worth noting, Jared there checking all of his suit connections, checking that everything's zipped up there. You saw him a couple times tugging on the tether connection to his thigh there,
Yep.
making sure everything is ready to go.
All right. Has a little bit of a, I guess there's that handrail that he's holding on the right-hand side. That's the hatch that they get into the capsule on, correct?
Correct.
Got some fist bumps there as well.
90 seconds from now, they will initiate the EVA, which will begin by closing up the visors and getting those suits pressurized and ready to go. Again, they don't officially mark the EVA beginning as when they leave. That has officially marked the start of it as they begin purging the suits of any remaining nitrogen and get ready for that 100% oxygen environment and pressurized.
Gotcha. We're going to keep with the views here as long as we can have them. You can see there's a bit of pixelization happening. But these are live views coming from inside the Polaris Dawn capsule via SpaceX right now.
Live from 350 kilometers above the Earth.
There you go. Are they on the upward leg or the downward leg right now?
Upward currently.
Upward currently. So the altitude is increasing. And it sounds like the official update, Sawyer.
Yep. It sounds like the official update is we are go for EVA.
Yeah, visors down.
Let's see what we get on this. When we switch away like this isn't us switching away. We are using what SpaceX is providing. You can actually see some folks starting to pile up in the background there just outside of Mission Control. SpaceX employees there to watch the show.
2 is go.
Support 1 is go.
Support 2 is go.
Dragon SpaceX initiating secondary O2.
And with that news, our EVA has begun.
There you go. You heard it from SpaceX and the capsule itself. It sounds like the EVA has officially begun just before 6:13 a.m. Eastern Time here in the United States.
Yep, and there's now an official EVA elapsed time clock as well.
Yep. I'm curious, as we count into this, remember, it is going to take them some time. They're doing the suit purges now. It takes 5, almost 6 minutes for the purge. They're going to do some leak checks. We're about 30 minutes away from the hatch opening here, just a little bit more than 30 minutes. I'm curious this morning, where are people watching this from? Low Earth orbit doesn't count. Somebody's going to say it. I'm just going to get it out of the way before you do. But I see so many different names in chat. I see so many different folks talking about what they're seeing. Okay, wow, that went a lot faster than I expected it to as soon as I said that out loud.
That's a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw Tennessee. There was an Indian in there.
Australia,
Norway.
Perth.
Yep. Indonesia, the UK, New Jersey, Poland, Germany, Australia, Austria. There's an Australia in there again, another France, Sweden, some Texas. There's no way I can read all these. How many people are watching this stream? 30,000 people here hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Thank you for being here, everybody. Sincerely, we really mean that. This is an awesome moment, and we're happy to share it with you.
Yep. That's sort of what we do, folks. Things like this are going on. We'll hop in. We don't have scripts. We're going to read you off. Okay, now we'll talk about this for 5 minutes. Like, that's not what we do. We're space enthusiasts. I mean, I'll say I'm a space enthusiast. EJ, you like space, don't you?
I've been known to enjoy space from time to time.
Sawyer, how about you?
Yeah, I'd say I like space, definitely.
No, it's all right. We're a group of enthusiasts here that love to share these sorts of events with you. People watching from all over the world. If this is the first time you've been to the channel, you know how to get back. There's the little button where you can click subscribe or whatever. But we cover all sorts of things. Things happening with SpaceX, Starship down at Starbase, launches happening from the Cape. We just covered a launch here live. Same sort of vibe. Hanging out with y'all, talking, answering questions, goofing around a little bit. A lot more than they are in the capsule. That's like serious mode right now. Look, visors down, hands in the positions,
So,
ready to go. Go ahead, EJ.
Josh, if you look in the bottom left corner of the screen, you can see Dragon and the suit pressures are starting to move. They're at 8.6. They
Ah.
just went down from 8.7. So keep in mind they're using PSI-A. So in case anybody doesn't understand PSI, pounds per square inch, right? I know, freedom units, I get it. They're using PSI-A, so that's absolute, meaning that's your pressure relative to vacuum. So absolute is relative to nothing, right? As opposed to PSI, which would be relative to like an atmosphere. Like the tires in your car
Right.
aren't measured in PSI-A. They're just PSI. It's relative to the atmosphere, right? So it's it's not an absolute. If it was absolute, it'd be double what you'd add 15 PSI to what your tire pressure is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you see in the lower corner, you have PSI-A right there. Oh, it just went back up. That's absolute. So PSI absolute to the vacuum.
Gotcha. EJ, is that the? I mean, am I just seeing things, or is that actually the Earth out the little window in the capsule, the upper hatch?
Oh,
I
there's
don't
definitely a reflection going on there.
It's
Yep.
very bright. Like the main window where
Yeah.
you see sort of the boot sticking up, that window is very bright. I wonder if I just want to believe that I can see the blue marble in the background there out that little hatch.
By the way, update, they are now initiating the primary O2 flow.
Yep.
And that's part of the
So
suit purge, right?
yeah, see, their suit pressure is going up.
Yep.
There's your O2 flow.
Yep, now at about 10.8 PSIA.
And the capsule's still pressurized here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There we go. The pressure going up. I believe it's about the normal pressure that they see at liftoff is 14.5 psi for reference, or about 100 kilopascals.
Good deal. And again, folks, this isn't like, oh, started. Okay, open the hatch. Okay, run outside. You want to make sure that your suit is safe before you rely on the suit to protect you from the vacuum of space. Remember, there's no airlock on here. There's not like, oh, we're going to go out in the airlock, then we're going to close this door, then open this door, and then press the big red button. And no, that's not how this is going to work. The entire interior of the capsule, what you see on the screen right now, is going to be the vacuum of space. No atmosphere. A vacuum inside that capsule, because when they open that hatch, there's going to be nothing stopping space from coming inside. That's really not the right way to say it. The inside of the capsule will be a dragon. It will be a dragon. Will be a vacuum in there, but not an airlock. You want to be very slow. You want to be very methodical, and make sure that you don't crack open that hatch until everything is good to go.
Exactly. And they've been working on pre-breathing, so to speak, so purging as much of the nitrogen from their bodies as possible since 90 minutes after launch. They've slowly been changing the PSI in Dragon from that 15 PSI to the 8.6 that you see now as a way to prepare their body, as well as the oxygen levels on board starting off at about 20%, similar to what we have here in atmosphere, working their way up to now in the suits at 100%.
I wonder if they've practiced this, right? In this procedure, it's like, okay, you're going to be here. You're going to put these two hands like this. You need to make sure the umbilical goes in this direction. You can see the umbilical going from his leg, like the top of his thigh there, just above, see the back side of the suit there, I guess that really is. And that little connection right there on the top of his right leg, if I don't think this camera's inverted, he's just touching it right there, goes over and around behind him, right?
Yep. That's
Exactly.
connected into the environmental control and life support systems. That is actually your lifeline.
Go.
But I think the one thing that they haven't practiced, they didn't have a Dragon capsule in a micro G environment. It's not like you take a Dragon on a parabolic flight and then practice that. So the one thing different that Isaacman doing right now, EV1 is doing right now, is all right. I'm going to put my hands here. I'm going to make sure this goes here, but there's no gravity affecting his motions. Wow. Technically, there's gravity affecting his motions. The microgravity environment, he's weightless right now, right? Technically correct, the best kind of correct, whatever.
Absolutely.
But that is the thing that is tough to train with on the ground. So here they'd already be learning things, right? Not Jared's first time in microgravity. He was on Inspiration 4 as well. But the way that that umbilical is, the way that he moves around, how his gloves work with those handholds and stuff, this is the first time this is being done here for real as they get ready for the EVA.
Yep, they're currently doing the suit leak checks. As you see, it's about 2 minutes behind their posted timeline, but those times were indeed approximate.
Yep.
So in theory, about 25 minutes from now, we should see that hatch opening. So we'll keep an eye on the suit pressures and then also see if there's a pressure differential within Dragon that changes prior to that hatch opening. You can see them there holding on, and of course, that right in between them there was that little handle. That is the unlock latch.
Gotcha. I wonder, there was like that one boot sort of floating in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's a planned thing. Like, is that boot supposed to be in a, not a stirrup, you know what I mean, though, like a little foothold thing?
It almost looks like it's relative to the window there. That is Scott Poteet's foot, by the way.
I'm like watching and listening in here, y'all. This is sort of serious business. We should be less than 30 minutes from the hatch opening now. For us, it probably feels like this time drags on, like, geez, when are they going to do it, right? But for them, I bet you the time is just flying by. Like here, you're in chat, right, and you're waiting. You don't have a checklist of things. You're not doing anything specifically for the, but they have a specific list of things that they need to be doing and waiting for. Like the pressure's changing, comms back and forth, just making sure everything's good to go. I imagine that the time is just evaporating for them.
Well, in fact, right now we have they're also kind of in that waiting phase as we have confirmation of 4 good leak checks, and now they are doing their final suit pre-breathing procedure, which takes about 19 minutes. So, as mentioned, that takes about at the T plus 30 minute mark in when they start opening the hatch.
There you go. EJ, how do you think those leak checks work, right? We see a pressure differential between the cabin atmosphere, like the pressure inside the Dragon capsule, and then we see the higher pressure inside the suits. Do you think they're watching like a replenished flow rate through the umbilical? Do you think they're just watching the absolute pressure? How do you think that they watch that to make sure the suits aren't leaking?
I'm not 100% sure. There could be a pressure transducer that's on the suit that'll tell you, but it's probably the flow rates on your environmental control system. If you go to inflate one of these suits, right, and you're going to go to check for leaks, obviously the one that's flowing more oxygen than others is the one that's going to be leaking. Right? So flow rate is what they use. There could be a pressure transducer somewhere, but flow is what's been used in the past.
Yeah, makes
not
sense.
Not for SpaceX, historically speaking.
Historically, yeah. Just curious, like, I imagine it's not even just one sensor. There's multiple sensors. It's probably not a lot of difference between the suits and rocket. There'll be like redundant backup sensors, and you compare the readings between different sensors. So if you have one anomalous sensor or something that's not reading quite right, you have that extra data to just sort of verify. But all of that going into the good suit leak checks as they're crossing over northern Africa right now.
Yep, they're over the deserts in Egypt right now. Kind of straddling the border of Libya and Egypt.
It's too early for a denial joke.
It's a river.
So I can't. I was going to try to come up with something, but I was like, no, it's still too early.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Chat, give me your best denial joke. I don't know. I'll just outsource this to chat. How's that sound?
I'm a little bit ashamed that you can't come up with one, but
Well, I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, that's your job.
Yeah, where's yours? So here, I just left the door open for you.
yeah, no, I'm really in denial that you left it open and I missed it. But also, the door's not open yet, so
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
I mean, all right. I got like
Anyway.
half credit on that one.
thank you.
So there's an interesting thing, right? Selden Nimar, I know that you're actually maybe being a little negative there, but I'll address it. It feels a little dirty calling it an EVA when the capsule still has pressure. Sawyer, EJ, is that a historical thing? I mean, like it's only an EVA once the hatch opens? How does it work on the ISS, or how did it work on shuttle, or do we have any discussion around that?
Sorry, you want this one or you want me to take it?
Go for it, EJ. And by the way, we should get video link back in about 3 minutes. They're in between stations at the moment.
Excellent.
Okay, so historically with NASA, the EVA operations begin once you start doing the pressure operations. And SpaceX seems to be abiding by that same kind of nomenclature, I guess, or ops, I suppose. Yeah, they basically, the EVA starts once you start changing around the pressures. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, you could say like, oh, it's not going to start until they actually open up the hatch, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, traditionally NASA's kind of the way they've kind of determined EVAs is basically once you start changing the pressures around in the airlock, or in this case with SpaceX, changing the pressures around inside a Dragon
Right.
or the suits.
Gotcha. So it's like a preparation thing, right? It's almost like when does your vacation start? Like when you
Yeah.
actually when your plane takes off, or when you're sitting at the airport, like when did your vacation start? Right? Maybe that's a
Yep.
little bit of a stretch of an analogy, but the things that they're doing now are critical for the EVA, like making sure the suits aren't leaking, making sure that they're ready to open the hatch. And they didn't say that the EVA started at when they launched, right? Because, oh, well, it's critical to launch the rocket if you're going to do an EVA. Like, it doesn't go that far, but they're in this go time now. Like, they're actually going through the specific checklist of things, hatches or the visors going down, the suit pressures changing, all that sort of stuff when they open up the suit. There's an interesting thing. John Hansen said EVA is the period when you're using suit for survival.
Yep.
So
there you
once
go.
they verified that it was the suit, they're not breathing the cabin atmosphere, but breathing the suit atmosphere. What's the difference supplied by the umbilical in this case? But still, that's a really good point. Like EVA begins when your atmosphere is being provided by the suit, or you're getting it from inside the suit is probably the way to say it, versus just breathing the capsule atmosphere, and that's why the EVA starts. That's actually a really clear distinction. That makes it really simple.
Mhm.
Nice.
You said it better than me.
I just repeated something that somebody in chat was explaining. Like a couple people were sort of
Yeah, that's what
offering
I'm
that as
saying.
the explanation.
Oh,
and
folks in
that
chat are a little bit better. I apologize for
makes
the
perfect sense.
shoddy explanations, guys. It's still a little bit early.
Yeah.
And
Left it
along
a
those
long time.
lines, by the way, on the ISS now, once those spacesuits, the EMUs, go onto battery power, that's when they officially consider the spacewalk started. For reference, the Russians notify it as once the airlock is at vacuum. So a little different.
Little different there. Gotcha. But again, it's preparing. I really do like the definition of you've become maybe self-sufficient is when the suits go to battery power, right? On the International Space Station. Here, because these aren't they can't operate on their own. The spacesuits have to be plugged in to the capsule. The capsule is still providing life support, power, all that sort of stuff via the umbilical. So it's never really that the suit is on its own, but the suit is what you're breathing from, right? Versus, oh, I'm just breathing from the capsule. So I wanted to talk about that as well. EVA, right? I saw the clarification there from you. I apologize if I misunderstood your question or your statement, but isn't an EVA if they're not actually leaving the capsule, right? And Sawyer, we sort of kicked off the stream talking about that, and there's a special type of EVA that I guess historically NASA has classified this as, right?
Exactly. This is considered an SEVA, a stand-up extravehicular activity. The official definition per NASA is when an astronaut stands through an open hatch but does not fully leave the spacecraft. So all of the spacewalks during the Gemini program, those were officially classified as SEVAs.
SEVAs, so stand-up EVAs. I was joking around when we were getting ready for the stream. I was like, "Is it really extracurricular if your whole body extravehicular, different?
Early.
If your
Early,
entire
guys.
body, yeah, it was close. If your entire body's not outside, and that's when Sawyer started talking about the stand-up EVA, the specific definition where your entire body isn't out of the spacecraft, but part of your body is out of the spacecraft, and that's what we expect to see here. They almost look like they're stacked up in this view.
Inventing has started.
Let's watch the pressures in the lower left-hand corner. So it's like the pre-breathe is complete, and we would expect that dragon number. It just went from 0.6 to 0.5, 0.4.
There we go.
And the suit will follow, right, EJ? Is that what we expected?
That's correct.
Yep, the final pressure for the suits once they open the hatch should be about 5.8 psia.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just okay? I'm curious, and this is sort of the thing where you almost hope that it stays on this camera so you can time lapse it, right? But I wonder if you were to speed this video up after the fact, would you see their suits puffing up? I don't think so. I don't think you would see it here because the pressure differential is already set, right?
They already said it when they inflated the suits. Yeah,
You'd have to watch it
shouldn't
earlier.
be much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. However, like when they do, when Polaris Dawn launched a couple of days ago, and they did a suit leak check before they, went to send them up on a Falcon 9, you could see the suits inflating. It's actually pretty quick. It happens pretty fast. They end up looking like the Michelin Man.
Yeah. One thing you can sort of see, since we're talking about pressures, you can see the gusseting on the elbows there, right? You see the sort of accordion elbows. Those accordion elbows are specifically designed so that when there's a pressure differential between the suit internal pressure and the outside, that you can still move your elbows. You still have some flexibility. Imagine it was just a tube, like a balloon that you would fall into a balloon animal, right? Astronauts are literally balloon animals when their suits are inflated like this.
Yeah. That's okay.
The gusseting there actually allows you to keep that mobility. Like think of a long noodle balloon and trying to bend that. Like imagine there was an elbow in there. The one you would fold into a little dog or a sword or a pirate hat or whatever, it's tough to bend. You sort of have to twist it to get that bend. And those elbows are built in such a way so that even though there's that pressure differential, the balloon is inflated, right? The astronaut balloon animal is inflated. You can still bend your elbows and have that mobility.
Yeah. I mean, suit design cannot be understated. These are complicated pieces of equipment, and the fact that SpaceX has taken that dive into doing suits with extravehicular activities in mind is very. It cannot be understated how difficult that actually is to do. And the fact that we're seeing it happen here in real time is very special. It's a treat for sure.
Yep. And they're continuing to go higher up in their orbit at this point.
Breaking new ground with this, new suits, new operations for everything. We're at about 4.5. We're going to see that tick down. It's going to get down to
now,
just
I see a lot of people in chat asking why it's taking so long. You do not want to shock pressurize these suits. You have to kind of go slow and deliberate. Think about like if Das, you were talking about balloons. Think about if you had a balloon and you pushed a bunch of air into the balloon, you shock loaded up that balloon with pressure quick, it'll pop.
Yeah.
Right? But if you slowly inflate it, right? You slowly blow it up, you can get the balloon pretty big before it pops. Now, in this particular case, the spacesuits of the balloon, you do not want them to pop. So you would pressurize the suit slowly, which is what we saw. You're going to depressurize the capsule very slowly. You don't want the balloon to pop. Now, the suits can probably withstand a shock here and there, but you don't want to sit here. This is not the place to test that, right? So go slow. You want to go slow.
Like
Yep, go ahead.
Kind of like how when you're in an airplane and you've got a chip bag that slowly inflates as the pressure changes.
Exactly.
The bag typically doesn't
pop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if you were to push all that pressure into the bag, all of a sudden you'd have chips everywhere, but you reach down into your backpack or whatever, you pull out the bag of chips and you're like, what is going on here? Well, it's the pressure differential.
Yep.
So the pressure on the Dragon continues to decrease. You can see in the lower left-hand corner, 3.4 currently. Inside the suits, 8.1, 8.0. Of course, as soon as I said it out loud, it goes down. But that's what we want. We want it to continue down. Now, per SpaceX, we don't expect the capsule itself to go to full vacuum before the hatch is opened. It's going to go down to somewhere around just under 1.0 on the Dragon pressure. And then the last little bit of pressure, it should be released by the opening of the hatch.
Right, but it's not going to be that big whoosh that you see in all the movies when they open
All
the
the
hatch.
movies, yeah. Like pieces of paper flying out the hatch and stuff,
That
right?
would be shock changing the pressure.
That's not what you want. We just talked
We
about
do not
that.
want that. You will pop the balloon.
Yep.
The magic number for the suit, again, 5.1. That's the number we're looking for in the suit pressure.
Gotcha.
So far, it's 7.4 on the suit, 2.7 on the capsule.
And just patient here, like hands in the position, everybody standing by. It almost looks like they're stacked up to go out this hatch. Only they won't all go out the hatch, just one person at a time will.
Yep, about 24 minutes in now. I believe there should be about 5-ish more minutes of depress here, of the venting.
It continues on. It's down to 2.4. I feel like a little party thing should go off or something when it reaches the bottom.
There we go. Dragon is now at EVA altitude and attitude. So it is pointed in a way that is meant to actually protect the crew in the event of micrometeoroid or other orbital debris, MMOD, that could potentially come their way. While they try and mitigate it, if it does happen, they are now using the Dragon capsule itself to protect themselves.
That's got to be like I just want to believe that it's like Earthshine going through the top hatch. Maybe I'm wanting to believe too much, but it looks blue to me. It looks blue tinted, right, EJ?
Yeah, you're definitely picking up some reflections from the forward hatch in the vestibule up there.
Yeah. That's okay. That's a good point. I just saw scroll through chat. If there's still a little bit of pressure in the Dragon when they open the hatch, theoretically, wouldn't that change the trajectory or change the orbit just a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I wonder if it would be like a measurable amount.
By the way, so far, all crew members polling that they are doing well up to this point. Right now, the altitude continuing to increase, and as a result, as it goes towards that apogee of about 700 kilometers or so, the speed reducing. That is just part of orbital mechanics, and it's totally normal.
Yeah, they're basically coasting uphill right now, and they're trading speed for altitude, like the kinetic energy that is their velocity. Their speed right now is being converted into potential energy out to distance above the planet, right? And then once they hit that apogee, they're going to start going back down. They're going to coast downhill again, and you're going to see their potential energy, their distance above the planet, converted back into kinetic energy. So the altitude will go down and the speed will increase. But the fluctuations you see in the speed, those are normal. That's just the way things work. And they're a little bit more, EJ, when you have a little bit of elliptical orbit. You were talking about the ellipticity. I don't even know if that's a word.
The ellipticity. I like that. That's
You know
your
what I mean,
vocab word
though.
of the day.
Yeah.
Norminal.
Eccentricity. Norminal. Nice.
Eccentricity. Yep.
It can be a little bit more marked when the orbit's a little bit more eccentric, right? Like when it's less of a circle and more of an ellipse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So orbital eccentricity DOS works on a scale from 0 to 1. 0 meaning perfectly circular, and 1 meaning escape velocity, right? So from 0 to 1, you're going to get more and more eccentric, and you're going to have more of a difference between your apoapsis and periapsis, right? Until you hit escape velocity when you have no periapsis and you're gone. You're hitting a home run. You're out.
Yeah.
And that's a baseball reference that not many people, if you're watching overseas, probably understood.
Thank
But you're gone.
I
But,
can't put it in like cricket terms or whatever. You know, like I just.
you're out of bounds. You're leaving
There
the
you go.
celestial body you're orbiting around.
Okay.
I think that's something that works.
Let's go with it.
You're
People
leaving
go
the
in here
pitch.
like, wait, what's a home run? Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
At this point, I see people asking why are they waiting. First off, the pressure is still decreasing, which the crew is reporting they're still good so far. The other reason being we're about to lose video from them because of a handover of the different tracking data relay satellite or TDRS satellites that are helping bring this live video to you from space. So part of it might be waiting for that TDRS handover to complete and for the
Yep.
pressures to even out.
And you can see the capsule pressure is all the way down at 1.2 right now. We expect it to go to 1, just under 1, something like that. In the suit, somewhere down just maybe north of 5. But looks like we got the video back.
Yep.
Again, hey, this is super important. Like every single of the 43,000 people in this stream should understand when we cut away from this live view, it's because we don't have the live view from the capsule anymore. Like we are not going to cut away from this live view if we have a usable view. If it goes pixelated, if it gets a little stuttery, whatever happens, we're going to keep showing this to you. And if it's not on screen, it's because we don't have it. Trust me on that one.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
hatch
we got
is-
the
Go ahead, sorry.
I was about to say the TDRS handover is complete at this point, so
Good deal. The hatch is not open yet. They're waiting on that final pressure to reach where it should be. And the last bit of pressure will be released by the hatch opening itself. EV1, Jared Isaacman, both hands on the handle up there at the top of your screen. The rest of the supporting crew down behind him.
and it is worth noting again, once they do open the hatch, not only will he be pushing it open, there is actually a motor drive that will help to ease the opening process on them. So we should see that hopefully very shortly.
You know, I don't have a timeline. Like when they did this with the Gemini, right?
Mhm.
Did they take this much time? Did we just not know it because we didn't have a live feed on the internet in front of people? Like I really do wonder how this compares to previous spacewalk preparations 60 years ago.
Gemini did, or Gemini, depending on potato, tomato, right? They definitely
Here
did.
we go. Mike, did you get to open the hatch?
I did.
Yeah, for hatch opening here soon. Hatch
Yeah.
opening preparations.
It sounds like, look at that. The capsule pressure is now under 1.0. It's
Hatch
down
open
at
prep,
0.9.
ready to open hatch.
Yeah, but anyway,
Hey, there was a ready to open
That
hatch.
is great news.
There we go.
EV1 good. EV2 good. EV1 good. EV2 good. Okay, EV1, we're ready to open hatch.
And it sounded like 4 check-ins.
Dragon, you are go to open hatch.
Go to open the hatch.
Go to open hatch.
Here we go.
Let's do this.
Put some goes in chat, y'all.
Mike, as you mentioned before, that continuous communication.
Hatch handle.
Here we go.
As you can hear, we do have a crowd gathering outside of Mission Control here in Hawthorne. In their excitement, somebody dropped a cup.
There we go.
We can see our
Cranking the
commander,
handle.
Jared Isaacman, now turning the crank, which allows the that top hatch to open. We'll see him give it a pretty heavy.
EV1, hatch is visually indicating open.
That's visibly
Syntax copies,
indicating.
stand by.
Yeah.
There we go.
Should see him give that hatch a pretty strong jolt to release that stiction.
It's going to be braced on anything here.
Hatch is now unlatched.
Look at the pressure, y'all. The Dragon
Mike
pressure is
talked
zero.
about, we see him getting his feet,
It's
getting
very
his
close
feet
to that
set.
5.1 number.
That's right. Dan, you'd asked if I'd gotten open the hatch. So when you go out as EV1, just like Jared here as EV1, that's typically the role for you is to open that hatch. And
You guys have to draw straws, fight over who gets.
Also approaching the highest point in the
exciting.
orbit, by
It
the way.
is.
Yep.
730 kilometers up at this point. Just waiting for that push.
Yeah, you can see little motions there. The video's not frozen.
Yep, you have Jared Isaacman again, EV1. Sarah Gillis is
SpaceX target
EV2.
pressure reached.
Copy that, SpaceX. I'm unseating the hatch now.
Jared now opening Dragon
Hatch is
Resilience.
unseated.
Look at that.
into
Hatch
space.
unseated.
It's moving.
So we saw some motion on the hatch. Again, he's just giving it kind of that initial tug. And then Sarah gets to push the button to swing that hatch open.
Motor assist we were talking about.
Exactly. Sarah, EV2.
Much more movement there on the forward hatch.
We also have support 1 and support 2, which are Kid and Anna.
This must be pretty exciting for Jared because that center part of
Dragon SpaceX, that's a good brace. We're going to have you repeat the operation.
center of the hatch actually has a window.
SpaceX, the hatch is unseated.
Copy.
Let's give it another pull. The hatch is several inches.
Look at that.
Okay, really light.
Copy. We see it.
Interesting they had him repeat it.
Yeah. I mean, the hatch is definitely out of position, though.
Looking out that
Absolutely.
tiny window there in the forward hatch, knowing he is going to have a much bigger window in just minutes.
There's surprisingly little room between his helmet visor and the hatch here. It's like his head is bounded by the control consoles there. The back of his head is touching the panels.
And his feet are right
Dragon
at the
SpaceX
hat,
vent complete.
the front hat.
Here we go.
EV1 return to seat.
And EV1 copies, transitioning back under the display.
Oh, I see how they're doing it then. So he loosened it, I believe. He's going to go back underneath his...
So again, one of the
display
reasons we
screens
had
there.
Jared do that was to
Yeah.
Dragon SpaceX, we're actually watching that hatch. We're going to have you repeat the last operation.
sounds like they're going to have him repeat them. One of the reasons we're doing that is just to kind of vent any of that residual
Transition
atmosphere.
back up from under the display.
And EV1, you are go for manual hatch open.
There we go.
Sounds like we got our first audible of the day. As we said, that we can open the hatch.
Opening the hatch manually.
We could open the hatch.
Switching to a
we
manual
could open
hatch
the hatch
open.
automatically, or we can do it manually. And so they just gave Jared the go
Interesting.
to open that hatch manually. So we just went out of ground station reach, so we'll get the views back.
Wow.
We'll get the views back
Oh.
real shortly, and then
Look where the capsule is. The capsule is going down around south of Australia, the middle of the Indian Ocean, almost all the way down to Antarctica right now, and we've lost the live video.
That is fantastic news
Hatch is
for
open.
those that...
SpaceX EV1, I'm looking at the seals. Initial view looks pretty good. I don't see any bulges or indentations.
Copy on hatch seal report.
Yeah, that seal that you just heard him talking about, it's such a important part for the end of the EVA, right? So that when they close that hatch again, you get a good...
Open.
Get a good seal of the hatch.
EV2 SpaceX, can you command open forward hatch? This is going to stall it open.
Oh, wow. There you go.
There is our first view of the forward hatch, wide open to space.
Forward hatch.
All right.
Execute.
So we did get the video back. The hatch is open.
If you just jumped in, we are
Let's see how
38
far
minutes
back
into
Jared is
today's
leaning
spacewalk, and the hatch is open on Dragon. First view
like
from
we
a
got
helmet
a,
cam.
Hey, that's a helmet
Looking
cam.
out.
Oh, wow.
SpaceX
Helmet
with the
cam,
installed
forward-facing
EV1
view,
is go to
looking
continue.
into the howling dark of space there.
That structure you see there is
EV1 go to continue.
SpaceX EV1, I'm transitioning back from under the displays.
SpaceX copies, we're with you in your helmet cam.
once again, this helmet cam, that structure we see is the spacewalker. This is Jared now egressing through the forward hatch of Dragon Resilience.
Skywalker, yeah.
These are the first views of the first ever commercial spacewalk.
I'm at the bottom of the mobility aid, progressing.
I have a feeling the crowd is about to go wild.
There we go.
Good call. Approaching the top of the mobility aid.
Look at that view.
I'm at a loss for words, gents.
Look at that.
There's SpaceX. Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, Earth sure looks like a perfect world. Nice, SpaceX. EV1, I'm going to step into Test Matrix 1. Single-handed mobility demonstration.
Wow, look at that.
Commander Jared Isaacman now emerging
Copy, we're with you in
from...
Test Matrix 1, watching from the nose cone.
This is one of their planned tests.
Up,
Checking out
down,
mobility
left,
is
and
just
right
one
are
hand.
threes. Pitch and roll are a 3. Yaw is a 2. Switching. Single-handed operations are fine. Static and with dynamic disturbance. Switching to left hand.
It looks so effortless.
Up, down, left, and right are 3s, maybe a 2. Pitch is a 4. Roll is a 2. Yaw is a 2.
So these are the suit mobility checks that Jared is
Single-handed
performing.
operations, dynamic and with disturbance are all adequate. Test Matrix 1 complete. HUD check, 5.3 PSI, 48% RH, 33.9 Celsius.
He's
SpaceX
reading off
copy,
the
Test
HUD.
Matrix 1 and HUD readout.
Crew ops check, EV1's good.
EV1 good. 42 good.
Okay, stepping into vertical translation. We're going to start with the horizontal bars.
Further out of the hatch than I thought they would be.
I was gonna say, is that far enough out for you, man?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, as they transition there
All right,
from
we're going
orbital
to
night.
transition over to vertical.
Day to night.
Look at the Terminator, man. It's beautiful.
I'd say vertical and horizontal are equally workable, slightly favors horizontal. I'm going to do a max reach. Left hand's at the top of the mobility aid. At the midpoint. You have good video?
Oh, we've got video. Oh, I jinxed it. Hopefully
We
it comes
just
back.
lost our live video, but stand by one.
Okay, switching over to max reach.
Commentator's curse, maybe?
Hey.
I guess that would
Copy that,
be
SpaceX. I'm
Spacewalker's
holding up
curve.
at the max reach.
Yeah.
And EV1, go ahead and continue the operation. We'll let you know we're back on with live video.
Hey, he asked about it, not me.
And for your awareness, max reach, levy aid, and the mid bar. And that's test matrix 2 is complete. HUD readout, 5.3 PSI, 33.9 Celsius, 50% RH.
Copy, test matrix complete and HUD readout.
There you go.
Crew off check, EV1's good.
EV2's good.
We're good.
Part 2's good.
Stepping into test matrix 3,
And
hands-free demonstration.
EV1 SpaceX for ingress time.
Hands free. Here we go.
Go, SpaceX.
Recommended ingress time of O2 flow plus 7 minutes.
Copy that. Ingress time, 7 minutes.
And Dragon, we're back on live video from the nose cone.
It looks like they have some lights on the nose.
Copy that, SpaceX.
Yeah.
It sounds like 3 more minutes for his portion.
Oh, man.
He's way out of that thing.
That's awesome. I have no words. Guys, I'm sorry.
And SpaceX
Same.
EV1. I would say the hands-free demonstration is very comparable to the trainer in terms of the foot restraints.
SpaceX copies.
There are foot restraints in there.
And EV1, when you have time, if you'd like to return to the reach demonstration, we'll take a look at that with the live video.
And remember, this is the
Copy
first
that.
of
Test
2.
matrix 3 is complete. The HUD readout is 5.3 PSI, 47% RH, 33.8 Celsius, and stepping back into max reach.
Copy, test
And as
matrix
you
3.
can see, top of the mobility aid.
Warm in
And
that
let's
suit
get a
at
quick crew off
33C.
check. EV1's good.
EV2's good.
I'm good.
Part 2's good.
Copy that. Okay, max reach, whether it's left or right hand, seems to be about the same. Top of the mobility aid, and then the mid-run.
Copy, we see it.
Checking up from the bottom. Any go back, SpaceX?
Negative. We got about 1 minute until EV1 ingress.
1 minute left.
Now we just get to
Copy
watch
that,
the
1
Earth.
minute.
Can you imagine?
I wouldn't
Look
be
at
able
that.
to focus
Gorgeous.
on anything else. I'd be staring at the blue marble the whole time.
Only imagine that view.
You want to see the guys to get the umbilical and then right foot.
We got,
There's the helmet cam.
Yep, more.
EV1, we're
more
checking out your
view
helmet cam now.
Well, I'm checking out your nose cone right now. And
Dude, you can
looks
see
pretty
him.
good.
You can see Rook.
Copy,
That's
we're turning nose
wild.
cone. See you looking at us.
Show us the nose cone view, please.
Yeah,
Show us him facing the camera
yeah.
before he
all right,
goes
we're coming
in.
up about that O2 flow timer time. Crew check for Ingress. EV1's good.
EV2's good. Part 2's good.
All right.
We missed it.
SpaceX EV1. congrats to the huge team effort that it took to get us to this point. We know it's just the start. And I'm transitioning back into the vehicle.
Sounds like the video feed has been lost there. Audio still coming through.
And there's the video returning.
Helmet cam.
It's
Ingress.
mind-boggling to me that you can see Rook in the reflection on the helmet cam. That's really cool.
And SpaceX EV1, we've taken a quick look here at the hatch seals. From what I can see so far, they look pretty good.
Copy on the hatch seals and stand by for transition to read-off reset.
Now with Jared in, next up is Sarah Gillis. Seems like he will retreat underneath the video screens, and Sarah will then come out from underneath them.
And EV1 is clear.
Getting back into the seat, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like got a little hung up on the hatch there.
All right, so Jared back inside. We heard him going through what's called the test matrix. It's basically just a bunch of maneuvers using different hands, using the foot mobility.
Read-off reset is in progress.
Folks, we've got EV1 all the way back into the capsule. That's the first of two, by the way. There's still another one coming up. The hatch is still open, but that was EV1, and we still have EV2 to come. Good grief.
Believable. That was breathtaking.
Yep.
That's a significant step. It's not something we just do for fun. It's not something we've done in a long time, and it's not something that's ever privately been done before. But to get up there in a capsule with your crew of 4 and expose the inside to the vacuum of space, and then put yourself outside.
Sarah's clear to proceed.
Copy. Crew check for EV2 egress.
EV1's good.
Okay.
EV2's good.
All good.
What two good? EV2 is going to go stand in the door and then step outside.
I hear the excitement.
Now, this test matrix that Jared just performed and the one that Sarah's about to perform, they have both committed to memory in order to execute these. We saw it being done pretty efficiently. I can't believe how quickly that time went by. Mike, we were talking about how your spacewalks were hours, and these guys only have 10 to 15 minutes, and it just like that.
Yeah, it can go.
Yeah. So here we go. I thought, oh, how much time is it going to be before EV2? But EV2 already moving into position here.
I was wondering if they're going to wait for orbital daylight or not, but it doesn't seem like it.
SpaceX copies that report. Good fix.
So this was something we knew might happen. And Sarah,
between 28 and 27.
Sarah's now moving in position for egress here.
the crew trained on exactly what to do in this scenario. Just pop it back in.
And
Reseat
one
it.
final between 19 and 18. That might be best reseated with hatch closure.
SpaceX copies. Can you repeat the location?
After EVA complete. Between 19 and 18.
All right, copy. I'll track that and ask again when you're ingress.
Copy. EV2 is proceeding with egress.
Super exciting to see
Egress.
this. Our fellow SpaceXer,
Yeah.
Sarah Gillis.
All right, so about just short of an hour. It's been 52 minutes since they started the EVA onto the internal suit, providing the environment for them to breathe, live, temperature control, all that sort of stuff. But
right now,
about
it seems
to-
like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It seems like they're trying to move Jared's umbilical out of the way. It seems to be in the way at the moment. That's what she's trying to do.
Yeah.
There you go, Sarah, moving up into the hatch.
Look at
Look at
this.
this view.
That's
Hatch
a new
cam.
view.
Oh, that's excellent. Brilliant.
I mean, I said it before. A lot of us work here because we want to do this.
All right, stepping into test matrix 1 for single-handed mobility.
Really cool to see one of our own out there. That's
Unbelievable.
awesome.
That tunnel is longer than you think.
Right?
So, single-handed
And EV2
mobility.
for awareness, we're watching from the nose cone.
Moving herself with one hand.
No, I mean, Das, a lot of people were asking, like, why is she not moving one hand? What's going on? What they're doing here is you don't want to go out and then just start doing, proverbial jumping jacks in space. You want to go
all
slow.
3 translation
Yeah.
axis. I'm having certainly cross-coupled movements. Forward, back, I'm inducing a bit of a roll.
You don't. You want to just test individual facets of the suit slowly and methodically. Remember, this is the first time they're doing this. That's why she's just not moving her left arm, and neither did Rook.
But all are achievable. Rating is 3. Yaw is
The
a
exact
3.
same test as Jared.
Roll is a 4.
But she got a 4.
And pitch is a 3.
Just proceeding through the test.
Send source for left hand. Stepping into vertical translation.
SpaceX copies. And EV2 for awareness, we're tracking an ingress time at O2 flow, 5-9 minutes.
Copy, 5-9 minutes.
3 minutes from now.
Yep. So now the vertical movement, we're going up and down from our perspective.
Horizontal bars are definitely preferred.
So what Sarah's doing here, guys, is she's providing feedback to the mobility of the suit. This happens when you're going to test a new suit. Once again, you're moving one piece of the suit at a time, and
I'm adequately able to stabilize my body with single-hand disturbances.
And as you get further and further into this test, you're going to start giving yourself more mobility, but you're also providing feedback to the engineers, to the people that made this. The real-time feedback is very helpful with the video
Stepping into max reach, do you have visual?
to understand the dexterity
we
of
have
the
visual
suit.
on the nose cone.
Copy
That is
from
the Earth
bar 4
blower,
to
by the
bar
way.
2.
Yep.
From top down. And similar reach from bar 2 up to bar 4.
SpaceX copies reach.
Dragging currently over New Zealand right now.
And
Yeah.
EVA test matrix 1 complete. Seat pressure 5.25, 33.8 Celsius, 37% humidity.
SpaceX copies HUD readout and test matrix 1 complete.
Copy, setting into test matrix 2.
Like we mentioned before, views going in and out due to those ground station coverage gaps.
Yeah, we comms are
Some of the same.
comms are through satellites, but we've got ground stations for video on Dragon. As you can see in the tracker, we just flew over New Zealand. We're about to go right over the middle of the Pacific. No ground stations in the middle of the Pacific.
Forward are actually pretty good.
I wonder if we've got a big
We're hearing the
blackout
voice
here after
of
we
mission specialist Sarah Gillis, our fellow SpaceXer on her spacewalk.
get out over the Pacific here.
Yep. And a reminder, this is not us cutting the video. This is just a satellite handover.
This is what we are getting from SpaceX. If we are getting something from SpaceX, we'll show it to you. But when the video cuts or pixelates, that's coming from SpaceX.
And you could see the Earth dark, and we flew into like an
All
orbital.
right, and test matrix 2, trying to combine them, so we'll call that complete. Seat pressure 5.27, 38% humidity, 33.7 Celsius.
SpaceX copies matrix complete and HUD readout.
It's toasty in that suit, y'all.
Yeah, it's getting, the suits are getting a little warm.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. There's no way to get rid of the heat.
Copy that, EV2. And once you are able to engage, disengage, we'll actually have you start ingress. We're just over 5-9 minutes O2 flow.
Copy. With that, EV2 is proceeding with Ingress. Pre-check for Ingress.
EV1's good.
EV2's good.
Good.
14 good. Copy. Coming on in.
All right, and just like that, Sarah's going to start
All
making
of the
her way
striker
in.
plates are clear.
Check those hatch seals again.
SpaceX copies on striker plates. And EV2, I have one more ask for the hatch, if you can check that out as well when ready to copy.
Ready?
Right, and
Ready, copy.
Copy. And EV2, what I'll have you do is, when you ingress, can you get eyes on the hatch handle mechanism and see if the handle has been stowed in the do not stow window, and report if you can see that?
It's stowed in the do not stow window.
Check it.
Yeah, guys. Sorry, we're not providing much extra commentary here. We're just listening.
Yeah.
This is
Copy,
fascinating.
just outside. Thank you.
Just outside the range.
Also, super at a loss for words.
Yeah.
And for awareness, I do see a couple of those same points bulging again between 12 and 13.
Copy your go to address.
No, mostly between 12 and 13 right now.
SpaceX copies at 12. If you can, your go to address those.
Copy and work.
Sounds like they're making sure the seal along the
Numbers being
portion
called out
that has-
represent the location around. Yeah, the location around the circular hatch, just identifying where these bulges are. So Sarah's now reseating that seal.
Not quite able to reach the back one, so we'll proceed with clearing for hatch closure.
Just like that, we're already hearing about hatch closure. It's incredible that these two EVAs, just in 2 blinks of the eyes, are...
ED2 is clear of hatch, please.
2 checks.
Just listening in, we're not sure we're going to get live feeds back. They're out there going over the Pacific Ocean. You can see Australia and New Zealand there that they've already gone over, but not a lot of ground station left to bring us the live video. If they were giving us live video, we'd be showing it to you, but there is not a lot out there in the Pacific. So,
You good?
Copy. Deploying handle. Applying force. And closing.
Once we get ground station coverage, again, we will be sure to bring you views within the Dragon capsule. But right now, Sarah is closing the forward hatch.
It sounds like we might give the motor a try.
You confirm the hatch is visually indicating closed?
And hatch is verified latch.
Hey, command and EVA hatch closed. EVA hatch closed. All Dracos enabled.
There we go. Big milestone right there.
yep.
Dragon SpaceX, we see EVA hatch closed and pressure indicates good hatch seal. Stand by for transition to EVA repress 1.
So, chat, note in the bottom left-hand corner that Dragon residual PSIA right there is at 0.1.
And EV1 copies. Everyone check secondary O2 valve closed.
As Core said, it's an indication of a good seal.
They have with them. They have with them a bunch of nitrogen tanks to help repress.
Parking closed.
So a couple of real big moments right there. Sarah was able to make sure.
SpaceX, we
We're in
copy.
EVA repress 1.
We copy secondary flow is closed and agree. EVA repress 1.
Okay, looks
He
like
was able to make
Dragon's
sure that the
ambient
seals
is
were in good
repressurizing.
spot. We got the hatch closed. You
Okay,
can
crew,
see.
we're out of a half PSI for 8.3.
Okay,
All
as
right.
I was just saying a second
go ahead,
ago,
AJ.
Dragon's residual pressure is going back up, indicating a good seal on the hatch. Unfortunately, because they're out in the middle of the Pacific, we didn't really get good pictures of it, but they should be coming into a ground tracking station here in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Yep, and it seems like they had been flowing O2, the oxygen, through the capsule through the entire time. So
Yep.
as soon as they got that seal confirmation, that's why the oxygen numbers started going up right away.
EV1's closed.
ED2 closed. Forward closed. Parking closed.
Copy that. And we're through 1 for 8.3.
Yep. Just read through some chat here as we continue to listen in. The 2 spacewalks have been completed. There were supposed to be 2 spacewalks. That's what they did. 2 of the crew members stayed inside of the capsule, did not stick their head out, and 2 of the crew members did an EVA. Technically, is an EVA. You saw there they were in some points free floating from the vehicle, just their ankles inside the hatch. Didn't crawl around the outside of the hatch. Dragon isn't really built for that. Like the ISS has handles all over. They stayed there within the confines of the mobility enhancement device, the Skywalker handles they had put in, but they actually went a lot further out of the hatch than I thought they were going to be. I thought it was going to be like their shoulders and their heads sticking out, but their feet were barely in.
Yeah. I also didn't realize they had those foot restraints there so that they could essentially go hands-free.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see, especially with the helmet cam view, too.
Yeah, I like the helmet cam. And the tunnel cam, like the one camera looking down into the tunnel. I know that the views, the live feeds here have been a little tough. There's a bunch of technical reasons SpaceX is going to have trouble getting the live views down for this mission. I guarantee you they're recording a lot of this, so in the next few days or weeks, I imagine we will see more high-def footage coming from that. But this was live. This was coming down from outer space, whatever, from space, live, so that we could share it here with you just over an hour since the EVA began, and they went to relying on the suits for their life support, defining the beginning of the EVA there. But we still have a little ways to go. We still need to get the cabin repressurized, make sure that that seal that they opened up to open that forward hatch to exit the capsule there is resealed and holding pressure as expected. And also the suits. The suits seem like they've been doing fine, but they will eventually be back out of the suits again, comfortable again, when they doff them at the end of all this.
Yeah, and they'll be using nitrogen to repressurize. That's one of the other items that they brought up that's relatively new for Dragon, specifically for this. They have a main nitrogen tank as well as a couple of spares just in case.
I'm curious when we get close enough to, I mean, they're going to be going over the Hawaii area within range of it, I guess, but also the west coast of the United States. They did say that when they got the video feed back, they'd show it to us again.
EV1 copy. Out of 3.
Yeah, that movement is tough, and there is a big difference just of moving around when you're in your short sleeves like we're inside the capsule, and when you put on that spacesuit, it's much more challenging to move around with that on.
All right. We'll see. I think the hardcore fans are going to stick around to see the inside of the capsule when we get the video back, but I'm curious, how many of y'all here are here for the first time today? It's like the KSP view, nice. Who's found us for the first time today? Like, how did you end up on the channel here? You know how to get back to us. This is sort of what we do at NSF. We're honestly a bunch of space nerds who like watching stuff like this, and we talk to you about it. I mean, we're a media organization that's been around for 19 years, but at heart, we are space nerds. We don't have a bunch of scripts or official information that we're going to give to you in a boring... No, we're real people experiencing this just as y'all are, and give you a little bit of a different environment to hang out in, right? So if this is your first time here, you know how to get back to us. There's a bunch of people saying it's the first time. Sub to the channel, turn on the notifications. We go live for rocket launches, whether it's something happening out from the Cape, a Starlink going, big missions like crewed launches and stuff like that. We do tons of stuff down at Starbase. We've got a full team of people down at Starbase covering what happens out there with the Starship program, static fire tests. We've covered all the launches, all that sort of stuff. So if you liked hanging out with us here this evening, you know how to get back. I don't have to tell you, it's step by step, but we do hope that we see you here again soon because you remember to follow the channel. Yes, a couple of you have been here before. Yes, it seems. Where am I? What is this? What year is it? Long-time listener, first-time caller. Nice.
Oh, jeez.
But continuing to wait to see if we get these feeds back. They did say they would give us live views again, hopefully shortly. How's everybody doing? EJ, how you feeling, dude?
I'm genuinely at a loss for words. I usually don't get like this commentating on stuff like this, but as we push the boundaries here and we see this generation of spaceflight fans as opposed to like the Apollo generation or the shuttle generation, which I mean I am, we push the boundaries more, we're going to see more crazy stuff, and it's very humbling to see something like that. I know to the untrained people, if you guys don't know that much about space, it's like, oh, you just poked his head out. What's the big deal? That is an incredibly dangerous thing to do. And generally with spaceflight, it's already a difficult thing, and you don't need to make it more difficult, but they're doing it here to push the boundaries of exploration. And as we, this new era of spaceflight gets as we progress into it further and further, you're going to continue to see more completely bonkers stuff like this, and I mean that in a very endearing way. It cannot be understated, the historical significance here of what we just witnessed. It doesn't look like much, I know, but that is unbelievable that we have a commercial entity conducting EVAs, even if it is just peeking out of the hatch for a second. This is a brand new spacesuit that they're testing. They've never depressurized Dragon in the vacuum like this before. Some huge milestones in technical capability were had here today, which is, it's very special and very humbling to watch.
It really is, and I see it, and you're right, EJ. Like, people that are like, "Oh, that's it? What's the deal?" Don't really grasp. It's not what they're doing. It's not. Oh, can you bend your elbow? Right? Well, how boring is that? Can you bend your elbow? Yeah, I can bend my elbow. Well, are you in space? Like, are you hurtling above the planet at 17, 18,000 miles per hour? Are you in a vacuum with nothing to breathe? You have like your spacesuit around you?
Sherrod and Sarah, it flew by even quicker.
Yeah.
So, the small steps that they're taking there, right? The ability to move, the ability to move your arms. How far can you reach? You heard the max reach test, right?
Yep.
How can you move yourself up and down? The vertical and horizontal mobility test. Those are the baby steps. And they're not out there welding a space station to get together right now, right? They're not out there capturing a satellite with their bare hands, right? But they're taking the steps to learn, to get the experience, and to test the systems, the spacesuits, the capsules, even themselves, so that we can start doing this more. And it's not limited to countries and governments that can do this stuff.
Yep.
Do people not understand how important that is? You got to go and ask a huge entity to do it. It's important that we can do this. So I get it. Like, you're sitting there like, oh, yeah, well, they bent their elbow. Congratulations. But that is not what it's about. They were in space, and they didn't have a massive country behind them backing it all up. It was a private enterprise getting this done for the first time that it's ever been done. And you want to see a commercial space station up there? You want the Space Hilton, right? Or whatever your favorite hotel chain is. I don't care. You want the base on the moon. You want commerce and not just governments to move us into space, because that's how we're really going to get there. These are the critical steps that's going to make that happen, right?
And it's worth noting, again, this is the first Polaris mission. There are 3 scheduled. This is just the starting point. The next one, the whole goal is to build off of everything that we just saw here, so that it can be more than just a 15-minute hop out and hop back. We actually get spacewalks. We get external science done. I mean, the fact that we're already getting commercial science missions here, imagine now being able to do that externally as well, outside of the spacecraft, to put an experiment out there, bring an experiment back, so that anyone and everyone finally has access to space to use it as a learning tool, as a science tool, and eventually a human spaceflight tool as we move outward. Is just... That's why that little elbow move is so significant.
It really is. Like, you don't go out there and like, I'm going to paint a masterpiece and do a backflip. Like, you got to start. I don't know, like, to put it into, I'm a parent. I have a daughter. To put it into maybe some context that parents would understand, it's like when your kid rolls over for the first time, right? It's like, big deal. They rolled over. Who cares? But if it's your kid and you're a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, they figured that out, right? That's where we are with some of this stuff in space right now, right? And it's, we learned to roll over. We learned to hold our head up. We learned to pick ourselves up. We learned to crawl a little bit. We're going to get to walking, and then you start running, and then you end up in the Olympics one day or whatever, right? It really does sort of put it into context. I know that it's just tough for people to get that context and that appreciation of how big of a deal this is.
Yep.
Am I waxing too poetic here? Like,
no, I don't think it can. It can't be understated. It's wild what we just saw. And hopefully it's just the beginning, right?
Yep. It better be just the beginning. Like,
I really hope so.
I want to see space
That was
stations.
great.
I don't want 1 or 2 space stations. I want like 100 space stations, right?
Yep.
I want to fly around like I'm in Halo or whatever. Come on,
Yep.
Yeah,
we're greedy here at NSF. We want more.
we
You want
can
more
do those
rockets?
things.
Please.
We could, like, humanity can accomplish those things, but if we sit here and we talk trash about the little steps, like, okay, hey, doesn't seem like you're contributing, but the rest of us are going to try to push this stuff forward, you know?
And the ISS is being deorbited in 2030. Once that's gone,
No, don't get me started on that.
well, but once that's gone, where do we go? How do we continue to advance human spaceflight besides the one Artemis mission a year?
Yep.
This is how.
Ah, yes. Well, we're still waiting. I mean, they're approaching the West Coast there. We do hope that we get that live feed. SpaceX said that we would get it back. They don't have that telemetry right now, or that video right now. But if you're asking about the spacewalks, the 2 spacewalks did occur. You can actually scroll back and see them. I'd imagine there's going to be clips and stuff like that. We're going to get some clips on our own social media. We're on basically all the different platforms, x.com, Facebook for people that are over there. We're on Instagram, like all the different places. A lot of people consume things different ways, like they're involved in different social media networks. So we sort of put it out there for everybody. We don't have one favorite or anything like that. So you'll see that coming up here in the next couple days. We should have a command in chat that we can run if you'd like to follow us on any of those other places. Maybe you're not going to catch the next live stream or anything like that. Hey, speaking of,
Camera should be coming back. Here we go.
We see it.
that EVA elapsed time is still up there, so it looks like we are back live in the capsule. There's actually the links in chat. If you want to catch up with more of our commentary, or we do like little time lapses, you only have 60 seconds. You're getting lunch and you're scrolling through a feed or something like that, and you want some rocket goodness. Oh, look. Displays. They're scrolling through the feed. They should actually subscribe to the NSF social media accounts there on their touchscreens.
You see their oxygen leak
that too
checks
much?
on that center screen.
Yep. The center screen display is checklists.
But
Here.
on their tablets, who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, that is back inside the capsule.
That is underneath their seats, by the
What is
way.
that?
That is all the
Yeah.
storage.
That's like the back. Huh.
There's all their scientific experiments, and then they're carrying extra consumables down there. That was the black box that was in the center of that shot. Okay, Dragon internal pressure is 9.2.
Yep.
PSIA suit pressure 13.8. They're going to repressurize the capsule here, and then they're going to check for a leak check on. They're going to do a leak check to make sure that the hatch did seal correctly, and then when they do that, they should bring the suits down to match pressure inside of the Dragon first in preparation for suit doffing, which means taking the suits off in plain English.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to remember. You've got donning has the word on in it. Doffing has the word off in it.
Thank you.
There you go.
Oh. Hey, over the course of this, y'all, I've seen a ton of support and folks resubbing to the channel and stuff like that come in. Super chats and stuff come in. Something, we say thanks to folks a lot of the time, but when a huge event like this is going, if we're interviewing somebody that we have like a limited amount of time with, something like this is happening, a historic event, we press pause on that a lot of the times. But please don't think that we don't appreciate you. Ryan Qualley, we saw the super chat comes in. Ryan says, "Hey guys, been watching since the days of flying water towers.
Yeah,
and I want to
baby.
say thank you for inspiring me to become an aerospace engineer." Nice. You're actually watching from work right now. So
There you
you've been
go.
around for multiple years, and now you're working as an aerospace engineer here in the early morning, hanging out with the old NSF crew. Thank you, Ryan. Hopping back just a little bit, I do want to say thanks to a few people here. Rocketman's daughter, who's joining the membership program, Grebo7, T.Y. Claire, and did I get any other ones? Rodney Green in the membership program there. Joseph Pistruto? I tried on your name, Joseph. Thank you for gifting 20 Red Team memberships to other folks here on the channel. Celadon Hair Extraordinaire did a super chat and said, "Passed right over us here in New Zealand, sending them over to the U.S." Nice. Did you see him? hair? Like, I don't know to call you Celadon or Hair, which one it is, but let us know in chat if you saw him. I'll see if I see it scroll by. Bruce Bennett says, awesome history making coverage, guys. We appreciate you, Bruce. Thanks for being here with us as well. Cole Logan, thank you. I wonder if the food and drink storage stays pressurized. I imagine they thought that through. I bet you the SpaceX had a plan for making sure that their chip bags didn't pop and there's like Doritos all over the cockpit or whatever.
Which they do have Doritos on board
I
this one,
know.
actually.
That's what, yes. I'd open it up to that.
Yes.
Let's see here. Onboard video. Oh, really? Is onboard video recording that can be released? Hey, you're going to have to talk with the SpaceX and Polaris Dawn about that, but I bet you it's a pretty safe bet that we'll see more coming out of that capsule in the days to come, and especially once they get home. Immortal. It's so exciting to witness. I'm not going to go through them all, folks. We could sit here forever. I don't want to miss the $100 super chat from Jerwa that packed through here 40 minutes ago when we were in the thick of the EVA there. Jerwa, a name we recognize here on the channel all the time. Thank you so much for the support, the long-term support. But you know something, y'all? You don't have to do super chats. Like, you don't have to visit the merch store and buy a shirt, or you don't have to do any of that. Like, everybody's welcome to hang out over here with us. The folks that are able to contribute and help keep us going make it so that everybody can hang out and experience things like this. So whichever way it is, like, show up, have some chat, like ask some questions, send a link to your friends, like on social media, whatever it is, like the little thumbs up here thing on YouTube. It doesn't really matter what you do. Everybody can be here participating. Everybody can be here experiencing these things. And honestly, we really do hope that we give you an enjoyable experience. We're not giving you a PowerPoint presentation. We're not sitting at NASA wearing suits or anything like that. Like, we're nerds just like y'all are. Hopefully it comes through in the fact that we can't stop talking. That's what happens.
It's good if we can't stop talking, but you see points in this where we where you have a loss for words. That's how you know it's real good.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's amazing, when we're just like, huh, that's awesome. Okay.
Oh, I actually don't know if we're ready to show this as well, but speaking of support, part of this whole Polaris Dawn mission was raising funds for St. Jude, and we were helping out with that as well. We worked directly with St. Jude and got a little page set up. If you do exclamation point St. Jude's, mods will do that in chat. I think we're just shy of raising $10,000 for the Children's Hospital there. The Children's Hospital. Again, that was a fundraiser for Polaris Dawn, like a much larger thing than just us. A lot of folks we know, a lot of folks we're friends with, making sure that they get the word out about being able to support the St. Jude cause. But there's the link right there. What's that number at right now? Let me actually click the link myself and see what the number says.
By the way, St. Jude, for those who don't know, helps fight childhood diseases, especially childhood cancer, and their goal is to make it so that parents and kids don't have to worry about paying for any of the treatment and can just focus on healing.
There you go. We are just south. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. I know I didn't really say that in advance, but we're at $9,685 raised so far. Pretty sure we could get it over 10 on this stream. I wish there was a number like, oh, we're going to get it to 19.5 to match the periapsis of the whatever, I don't know. I don't see any numbers that are easy to reach like that, but hopping over 10,000 in this stream would be quite the feat in providing that support to St. Jude's. And this doesn't come to us. Did you zoom in on it? He zoomed in on it. Nice. This isn't coming to us. This isn't like, oh, we're collecting the money and sending it to them. When you go to this page, look at the URL. It's stjude.org. It goes directly to the hospital. It is a donation. They are a nonprofit. You'll get paperwork and stuff like that from them. So anyways, I wanted to mention that as well, because that is a big thing with the Polaris Dawn mission. Happy that we could help out raise some of the money to fund these children's hospital. It's optional if you want to show your name on the list there or not. That's up to you. You don't have to. You can even keep the amount anonymous if you want to. But everybody who's contributed, thank you so much for the support there as well.
Yep, and as they pass over the Great Lakes, they took a slight pause just to confirm the leak checks. Now that those are complete, Dragon repressurization has resumed.
Whew. That's quite the event, y'all.
That is an understatement.
Okay. All right. My critique, right? I offer my honest opinions as well. I hope that we get the footage from the nose cone cam, because EV1, Jared Isaacman, at one point we heard on the audio that he turned around to look at the camera. I don't know if he gave it a thumbs up or anything, but we didn't see that live. I don't know if that was intentional or not, right? But I hope at some point we see the face mask and the astronaut facing the camera there, and we get that off the SD cards. Yeah, the back channel. Chris in the back channel says, "Oh yeah, the SD cards," or whatever, however they're recording it. Right? That was the one thing I was like, "Oh, he's at the end. He's going to do it at the end. He's going to turn towards the camera." Right? And then they cut to the other, and then they cut, and we didn't get to see that. Oy. That's like my one thing. I want to see that footage of the astronaut turned around looking at the camera. How about you, EJ?
Oh yeah, there's no denying that we'd want to see something like that. But I mean, it's important to understand. We missed some of the visuals from this mission because Dragon.
As Dan just said, this.
I don't want to say the right words isn't saying that Dragon is. What's up?
Had audio for just a second there, but I think we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. The right words isn't saying that Dragon is antiquated, but Dragon still relies on ground signals, as opposed to being engineered with like Starlink from the ground up. I mean, one of the test objectives of this mission is to use Starlink for Dragon. But in terms of video feeds and telemetry, you're still getting it through ground stations and through TDRS. So it's still using kind of quote unquote legacy systems. I wouldn't say antiquated because it's clearly working, right? But
yeah,
future systems, like Starship is being engineered with Starlink in that Starlink communication systems from like the ground up. And we saw it from the last test flight. We saw uninterrupted feed all the way through reentry. So in the future, right, as we push the boundaries further, we should be able to get more uninterrupted feeds. So we could see that astronaut come and give the thumbs up or something to the camera, Like I don't know if that's what Rook did. I mean, I'm just taking a guess, but
I hope he did.
Yeah, right.
And also, they will actually. You mentioned they basically have a Starlink router of their own on board.
The Placer.
And, yes, they have a special connection going out the trunk called the Placer, which is plug-in laser. So basically, they plug it in, and it does laser comms. They are expected to do a special demonstration with it tomorrow, or flight day 4. And I've been told that there is a special announcement and going along with it. I don't actually know what it is. It's not like I'm teasing it because I know it, but
yeah,
we'll have to tune in.
Yep.
And of course, we'll share it on our socials too if we see it.
I saw some folks in chat, other views or visuals they wanted to see the helmet cam looking towards Earth. Like, I would love to see how the helmet cam looked back at Earth. I know, it was a little surprised, right? I think some people came in the middle and they didn't see the Earth in the background when it was still lit, but the way the orbit worked, they did the EVA primarily on the dark side of the planet, right? And I need to reach out and see if I can find confirmation on this, but it was a component of that the radiation. Like, were they doing it on the far side to minimize the astronauts' radiation exposure? And that's why they were on the dark side of the planet, or am I just making things up there?
Well, I mean,
plausible, but
it's plausible. I think that's just how the timelines kind of came together here.
Temperature, maybe like direct sunlight on the spacesuits affecting temperatures.
Well, I mean, that may have had something to do with it, Das, because they were reporting a slightly increased temperature. It got up to 33 centigrade in those suits. That's pretty hot for
93, 95 degrees I saw in there. Like, that's pretty toasty.
A little toasty, yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's called Placer, not plausible.
Thank you, so.
You're welcome, Das.
Hey, didn't. So if you're like, oh, why didn't they do it during the daytime? Go back to the beginning of the EVA, because when they first got out of that hatch, you could see the planet in the background. You saw the day-night terminator, like the sunset line, basically. That was right there. But the majority of the spacewalk was performed sort of in the shadow of the planet, and potentially that was to minimize the solar radiation, the heat, I guess is the right way to say that, on their suit, on the capsule, etc. We asked that question, like you hear about, oh, when the sun hits the outside of the spacecraft, it's this hot, and then in the shade, it's this cold, and yada yada yada. Maybe they were sort of mitigating or minimizing that effect on the handles that they were touching and that sort of stuff. But again, it's the first step, right? This is the first of many missions. Polaris has more in the hopper that they're planning to do, but there hopefully will be other commercial missions going. Don't we have that? It's not an EVA mission, the polar mission, the Fram 2. Is that what that is?
Yep.
Is it Fram or From?
SpaceX said From 2 on their cast the other day. I was saying Fram like the oil filter.
Like the oil filter. You can see where you came from.
Yep.
Is this a type of cheese, or do you get this from AutoZone? I don't know which one it is.
Yep. And by the way, its secondary O2 valves are open. This process of repressurizing takes a lot longer than depressurizing. They're taking it nice and slow. The entire process from when they basically close the hatch until everything is repressurized and done is about 45 minutes.
Yeah. And you can see the pressures are back up, but they are still buttoned up inside the suits. You know something, I really wonder, like, you see their hands floating sometimes, right? And it's not resting on anything. It looks uncomfortable to me because I'm thinking in terms of gravity. And if my hand was floating like that, I would have to be holding my hand up against gravity. But I wonder if, I guess it makes sense, in space, your hand's just sort of there. Your arm's just sort of there, right?
Yeah. That's just how your arms kind of naturally rest in space, kind of T-Rex style out in front of you.
Yeah, that's when you sleep. That's their natural floating position. And apparently, the astronauts I've spoken to, they get their best sleep in space.
Oh, I'm probably really good on the joints, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd have sinus problems or something. I've heard about, the blood sort of pools in your head and you have like breathing or sinus problems. I'd have a ton of problems going to sleep if my sinuses were space sick.
I mean, that's one of the things they're doing research on this particular flight as well. Yeah. Is head pressures as well as how that affects the eyes, too.
Oh, that was the smart contacts, huh?
That's one of a couple of eye experiments, yes.
Man, I can't put a dumb contact in my eye, much less a smart contact. It's that time of the evening here, I think. Or the morning. It's almost 8 a.m. Eastern time, y'all.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Maybe the position of the arms is based on the suit movement capabilities. Those are things that they're testing. I mean, these are privately designed spacesuits by SpaceX, and they had some improvements over their normal flight suits. Every time they launch in a Dragon, they have the Dragon flight suits. In case there's a leak or a hole in the capsule or whatever, they have their secondary backup, which is their pressure suits they can use to breathe. These are like enhanced versions of that with a lot of improvements on it, but some of the improvements are the mobility improvements, the heavily gusseted elbows, the rotator cuffs in the armpits, I guess the shoulders and arms, right? You see how it's almost a tunic? Like right here, you see how it's a shirt, like a top part and then a pant part? There's a seal in there, but there's also a rotation sort of thing, so you can sort of move your torso around a little bit. And you see how it's not just one piece of fabric going all the way down, but that top, I'm going to say tunic. I don't know if that's the right term. Of course, it goes pixelated as soon as I point that out. But that's another mobility sort of thing, right? And then you pressurize the suits, and you have a pressure differential, like 17.4 psi in the suit, 12.8 in the Dragon. And then how does that affect your ability to move? Maybe that's just like a resting position. If you just let the suit go, that's the position it would sort of take.
Also worth noting, first off, they're still using those touch screens with their hands up there. And second, only EV1 and EV2, Sarah and Jared, have their arms up like that. If you look at Kid and Anna, their arms are down.
I think Kid and Rook are resting their arms on the console, and Sarah and Anna are more in the just kind of the free float resting position.
Is that the seating right now? Like the 2 in the middle versus the 2 on the outside?
Yeah.
'Cause they're-
Again, you've
'cause
got
they're tapping
EV1
on
and EV2
screens.
in the middle, and support 1, support 2 on the outside.
So yeah, then I flipped it around a little bit there, but yeah, you get the idea. The 2 center seats are resting on the center console, and the 2 outer seats are just kind of in a free float rest position.
Yeah. And yeah, Mav 2K, 2 people stepped out, floated out. Really, you didn't need to really step. It's one of the funny things about spacewalks, right? You don't really need to walk in space because you're floating. There's no gravity to hold you down. It's tough to walk on anything. Then you get into mag boots or you go to the moon, right?
Yep, I can confirm in microgravity you don't need your feet for pretty much anything. In this case, they just used it for stationary support.
Yeah. That's another good thing. That guy from that thing, are they working on a pack for the suit? A big difference here between the EVA suits you see on the International Space Station in these suits. These suits are not self-contained. These suits require the spacecraft and the umbilical between the suit and the spacecraft to provide their oxygen. You can see the 2 umbilicals floating in the foreground there, right? The ISS EVA suits are fully self-contained. They need to move all over the outside of the station. And so the entire huge backpack that you have there, it's hundreds of, well, I could say pounds if they were on the ground. It's hundreds of kilograms difference between these spacesuits that don't require their own life support systems and the ISS EVA suits that are fully self-contained and have their own life support on board the suit itself versus being plugged into the spacecraft. So that's a good question. I haven't seen a render or anything like that from SpaceX showing a SpaceX suit that has a backpack. It'd be tough here in the Dragon. There's not that much room. They don't have the whole airlock. I even wonder how the tunnel would be, right? Because the ISS airlock is pretty big, and the tunnel looked like you can get in and out of it, but it's not like you're walking down a huge hallway there, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think this is an iterative step.
Yeah.
There we'll probably see a self-contained SpaceX suit in the future, but SpaceX has said that these EVA suits are kind of a precursor to making a extravehicular suit that's designed to work on Mars. So I'm not necessarily sure you're going to see something like that with Dragon in the future, but
yeah,
Dragon, because you're kind of space confined, but I'm pretty sure SpaceX has something else teed up that has a lot more volume inside. Probably a lot more room for a spacesuit. Just a little bit more, right?
They're gonna have an airlock you can drive a truck out of. Literally.
The airlock, you can put Dragon inside of it. No, I don't know that for sure. That's not. I'm just guessing. That was just. But yeah, that's the idea.
I didn't measure it.
Yeah, I didn't measure.
I didn't measure it or anything.
But I mean, that it's an important thing to understand. Like even the airlocks for the EMUs at the ISS in the Quest airlock, that is designed around the suit. Like, you don't just go and make an airlock for a space station or a spacecraft and not design it around the suit that's designed to go outside of it. You're just like, oh, we designed the airlock. Oh, the suit's too big. No. You would design the suit and then design the airlock around the suit.
Well, that happened.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah,
like the first EVA that the Soviets did had trouble getting back in because when they got out of the airlock, the suit expanded some, and then they couldn't fit back into the airlock. Right?
Yeah, they almost stranded Leonov out there. Yep. And that inflatable airlock wasn't the best idea, but how would you know? You didn't know it was the best. They didn't know it wasn't the best idea until they went and did it.
It's the sort of thing like think of that simple thing, right? You look at this and like, wow, all they did was go outside and then move their arms around. Well, originally when this was being done, somebody was like, oh yeah, we're just going to go outside. They went outside, the suit inflated more than they accounted for, and then they couldn't freaking get back inside. Like, these are the types of steps that you have to, this is why we're taking small steps here, right? Not going out, well, where's their thruster gun? Why didn't they do 3 laps around the capsule? That's a real spacewalk that a real person would do. Like, come on, really?
Give it some time.
Yeah.
There's another Polaris mission on the books. There's Polaris 2.
Copy that, SpaceX researching.
Great news there. Confirmation that Dragon repress is now complete.
Hey, there you go.
Beautiful.
So, repressurization is complete on Dragon. and they should now equalize pressure on the suits.
Yep. And remember, we're still coming up on EVA complete here, and I imagine EVA complete is when they're back on Dragon life support. They're breathing the capsule atmosphere instead of breathing the... Oh, that's interesting, actually. Hang on, I'm reading.
The EVA type, per the SpaceX website,
Yeah.
they'll do the oxygen washout and nitrogen oxygen to the suits, and then once repressurization is complete, that marks the official end of the EVA. And I believe SpaceX got rid of their clock as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because they've got two things on the timeline here. There's EVA complete, which is separate from Dragon repress complete, right? But on the timeline on their website, repressurization complete marks the EVA end. So the two things don't agree with SpaceX's stuff here. But whatever.
They did already do the nitrogen replacement. They did the nitrox replacement. They switched to nitrox a little while back. But yeah, the ending of the EVA is, I don't know, like technically, like when you open, when the capsule repress, maybe that's what they defined as the end. I mean, it's very clear that everybody has kind of their own standards. NASA has their own thing. SpaceX has their own thing. Like SpaceX calls the capsule communicator a core, right?
Yeah.
Crew operations responsible engineer, resources engineer, excuse me. So maybe it's kind of just a little bit of a change in the nomenclature.
Yeah.
Everybody does it a little bit differently. It's like main engines versus booster engine cut off,
Nice. It might be different in just the level of detail. Like they chose not to put as much detail in the little overlay as they did in the list that's on the website, right?
Oh, I'm sure there's so many more steps that we don't see.
All right. How long have we been going here? There's still
About 3 hours.
27,000 people hanging out with us.
Hopefully we'll get the official word that everything's closed, and maybe we'll get to hear from them, from the crew.
Disconnecting nitrox to suit. And
One in yet?
yep, please. All right, check secondary O2 valves closed. EV1's closed.
EV2's closed.
4-1 closed.
4-2 closed.
All right, you're going to manually vent down.
I'm curious if we're going to get video of visors open here. That's sort of what we're waiting for.
Yeah, check out the suit pressure and the capsule pressure. They're about even now.
Yep.
Do you think their ears popped?
I mean, going down to 5 psi, yeah, absolutely. Probably it wouldn't be any more than what you get flying on an airplane.
But like on an airplane, I can touch my nose.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Not wrong.
Sounds like they're all on nitrox.
Yeah. We got a whoo.
Space.
But what does it smell like?
Yeah, I want to know what it smells like.
Operations complete.
There we go. EVA ops complete.
We show the same. Nice job for everyone, and everyone at SpaceX who made it possible. All right. Section 9. Turn all seats, push the talk to manual. Armed.
Execute.
Space.
Sound like push to talk went to manual there because they're.
If you're just joining us, we just heard the call out that EVA operations are complete.
The push to talk. You heard the push to talk to manual call or whatever there, and then their commentary got cut off. It sounded like so.
Yep. That's that marks the end of the EVA operations. That sure was something. Yeah,
Wow.
that was cool. Real
Yeah.
cool.
I wonder if we're going to get views of inside the capsule. Like, are we going to get a thumbs up? Where are they at right now?
They're North Africa.
Okay.
Over
I do
North
love
Africa.
that comment though afterwards. Ah, you smell that? Space.
I wonder what it smells like.
Yeah, that goes back to our launch commentary for
We
those
did,
who were
yeah.
there, as we talked about the smell of space, whether it's burnt metal, burnt steak, or the terrible perfume that you own.
Yes, I own terrible perfume.
That claims to be the smell of space.
You know the problem here? My alarm is going off telling me I should be waking up about now.
Yep, mine just went off too. I was really hoping the thing didn't pick it up. Oh dear.
Oh boy.
So how do you smell space? So Eric, whenever you repressurize an unpressurized space, it captures a little bit of ozone in it, and that's what makes that smell. It smells like burnt steak or burnt toast, or if you're if anybody here welds, it's kind of the ionization that happens from the welding arc. It smells kind of like that, like burnt metal. That's what we're talking about. It smells like winning. DJ, I like you. You're all right.
Also,
smells like winning.
Nice.
Shout out to the person who just walked in front of the camera and wiped their brow like a phew.
They are going to land. I'm actually just reading chat, answering a couple questions here. Not today. They still have 2 days left in the flight before splashdown. It's supposed to be a 5-day mission. But they are going to bring the capsule back home, just not right now.
See the handshakes all around there, starting in the front row.
Yeah. The walks were just over 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
Total.
I lost track of
It
time.
seemed like. It
Total?
seemed like they were about 7.5 to 8 minutes each.
Really? That went by fast then, because it was an hour for the whole time, but you just gotta imagine that the time just flies, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean that was quick. It felt quick, at least, even from here.
Yeah. Do we know if there's a spacewalk scheduled on Polaris 2?
They have.
Go ahead, Sawyer.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I don't think they've officially said.
Yeah, the details of Polaris 2 aren't really well known. We do know that the third Polaris mission is a crewed Starship flight, which is okay. So we know some details for 3. We know more. I technically could say we know more about 3 than 2 at this point, right? Like, but yeah, the details are kind of, you know.
Apparently, when he was on NSF Live, Jared did say that we'll be doing a spacewalk on Polaris 2.
Like,
there you go.
The context was Hubble. Like, we were talking about repairing Hubble, and I think the sort of information was they wanted to do one no matter what, whether they were repairing Hubble or not, right? So the walks were quick, but they were so important. Hey, I agree with that. I can get behind that, Rod.
Yeah,
that's perfectly said. Yeah, per Jonathan McDowell, Jared Isaacman was out for 7 minutes and 56 seconds.
There you go.
Sarah Gillis was out for 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Ah, geez, she got shortchanged a little bit.
Yeah, the second she came out, it sounded like she almost got behind on the tasks, even though it was just the speed of everything.
Yeah. All right. Hey, it looks like we've gone over $10,000 handily on the St. Jude fundraiser. It says $10,820. So, folks, appreciate you supporting not only what we do, but supporting the fundraiser there for St. Jude. Folks that are able to contribute, it is drastically appreciated, whether it's $5 or $100, right? Every little bit adds up. And the same thing with us, like everything that y'all do to support what we do, it all adds up. Just showing up in chat, clicking the little thumbs up thing, like all the different things really do help us keep showing up so that we can provide, let's say, experiences like this with you. But Jared, on the screen, you can see over $10,000, almost $11,000 for St. Jude. List of folks, 257 different people chipping in, all the way up there, $600 from Devin. Jerwa's in there as well. Bideford's in there. Charles Hume, like all the different names on the list. Thank you so much for the support. Again, Polaris Dawn raising funds for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. There you go. Well, folks, I think we're coming up on the end of our coverage here. It looks like EVA operations, EVA activities have concluded. Not sure. I don't think we're going to get anything else from SpaceX here. So I guess we're going to be watching on social media on Polaris Dawn and SpaceX to see if they release some more footage and stuff like that for us. But hope you all had a good time this evening. You know how to get back to the channel if you'd like to find us again. This evening, we've been EJ. EJ, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's this has been it's a privilege being on here. Thank you everybody for watching and supporting. This is awesome, and I'm just happy I got to share it with you guys.
Good deal. You gonna be over on Twitch later today? You better go tell your chat you're gonna get some sleep. Satisfactory's gonna have to wait.
Oh dear, I feel attacked.
I watched the channel, dude. Come on, I know what's going on.
Yeah, everybody, I do stream on Twitch. I play STEM games over there, and you can ask me a question about space at any time, no matter what I'm doing, and we will answer it. We keep the STEM and the spaceflight conversations going over there 24/7. Actually, almost 24/7. If we get to noontime, it'll be 24 hours up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, with the exception of the small 15-minute nap that I took. But yeah, thank you everybody. Yeah.
Good deal. Sawyer as well. Sawyer, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. I mean, back in the day, we were the three on Twitch doing the original Kerbal Space Program stuff, and now here we are taking a mission that we would probably do in Kerbal and seeing it happen in real life. Absolutely spectacular. Pleasure to be here, and always excited to have this amazing coverage here on NSF.
All right. In the background, we've had our fantastic team on the production side. Kevin Michael Reed pushing the buttons for us this evening. Big thanks to Kevin there. Look, hey, he put his own picture up there. Kevin actually clicked the button to show his own picture on the screen. My name is John Galloway. If you see me in the videos, you may hear me called DOS. Either one works, but my mom calls me DOS these days. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. What an event to watch. Steps further into space, actually technically further into space than we've been, and the private industry stepping up and accomplishing that first commercial spacewalk. It's only going to go up from here, probably quite figuratively and literally. But for now, that's going to be the end of our show. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Hope you had a good time, and we will see you nerds later.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
Our CPA chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Fighting down to SPD off. Say again, SPD off. It's orange!
45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Amazing!
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.